Chapter 161. The Cunning and Cautious Ones, Pursuing the Internal Organ Realm. When Ma Gu saw the young man in white clothing, his whole body trembled immensely. Not only because he had previously not detected any trace of the other party, but more so because in his perception, the chi blood on that young man's body was like a deep abyss, even more terrifying than the middle-aged man he had encountered in the Nameless Valley. A martial artist of the internal organs realm, and he was even more formidable than that middle-aged man from before, from the internal organs realm. Ma Gu instantly made a judgment in his heart. Lu Qing's expression was equally solemn. In his field of vision, a dense red light was radiating from the body of the young man in white clothing. Bai Yuhua, disciple of the Northern Border Sky Blue sect, a martial artist of the innate realm who is the second disciple of Wang Tsangyi, characterized as devious and treacherous, unpredictable. Cultivation. Small success in postnatal internal realm, possesses an explosive secret technique that can temporarily double combat power. Due to his master Wang Tsangyi's favoritism and estrangement, he harbors resentment toward his master and is extremely jealous of his fellow disciples. Indeed, it was someone from the Sky Blue sect. Lu Qing, understanding the information about the young man in white, felt clarity in his heart. However, although Wang Tsangyi is an expert of the innate realm, his ability to teach disciples is truly poor. How come each one of his disciples is rebellious by nature? It's bad enough that the disciples don't get along with each other, but they also harbor much resentment towards him, their master. On the other hand, the young man in white was equally astonished in his heart. Recently, due to the deaths of the seventh disciple and third disciple, his master was furiously enraged and issued a command to definitely find out which sect forces were meddling. Among them, he also received a mission, which was to continue searching for the whereabouts of Wei Xinghe's wife and child. After seeing the manner of death of the third and seventh disciples, how could the young man in white dare to expose himself to danger so easily? But he couldn't defy his master's order, so he directly drove a gang that he had recently subjugated to search for information outside of the city. As for himself, he followed behind these people, looking to potentially startle the hidden snake into revealing itself. Due to his wariness of that mysterious force, the young man in white didn't dare to get too close to Black Wolf and his men, always hiding 1 or 2 miles away. In this way, he could ensure that he would notice in time if Black Wolf and his group caused any disturbance, and it also ensured his own escape route at any moment. Unexpectedly, it was precisely because of this distance that by the time he heard the screams of the Black Wolf gang's men and approached, it was already too late. In that short span of time, Lu Qing had already slaughtered all the members of the Black Wolf gang. The inner heart of the young man in white shook as he looked at Lu Qing's youthful face. Just now, as he sneakily approached, he had witnessed Lu Qing kill the last few members of the Black Wolf gang. Judging from the outburst of chi blood, he knew that Lu Qing was a martial artist with great success in the muscle-bone realm. Great success in the muscle-bone realm was not unusual, but such a young martial artist with great success in the muscle-bone realm was extremely rare. Even within those top major sects, such a talented disciple was a rare sight. At the very least, their Sky Blue sect didn't have such a genius. Thus, at the glimpse of Lu Qing, the young man in white clothing was almost certain that Lu Qing was undoubtedly linked with the mysterious force they were searching for. Ordinary families and clans simply could not nurture such a young martial artist with great success in the muscle-bone realm. Having identified Lu Qing's identity, the young man in white intended to retreat. But he never expected that his movements would be called out by Lu Qing. Remarkable to think that a mere martial artist with great success in the muscle-bone realm could detect my movements. Which sect's core disciple might you be? Asked the young man in white, waving his jade fan with a carefree air. Hearing his words, Ma Gu's heart jolted. Knowing his previous guess wasn't wrong. Lu Qing indeed had reached the realm of a great success martial artist in the muscle-bone realm. However, Lu Qing did not answer him but said with a serious expression, "Ma Gu, you retreat to the side first." Ma Gu nodded and quickly moved back without any hesitation or delay. He knew that his presence would only serve as a burden to Lu Qing. The young man in white flashed a hint of displeasure when he saw Lu Qing ignoring him. However, he didn't immediately get angry. Instead, he became more cautious. Lu Qing's arrogance had to be based on something substantial. The scenes of the third and seventh brothers' deaths in the Nameless Valley flashed through his mind. With this in mind, the young man in white clasped his hands and said, "Since you do not wish to reveal your identity, I won't intrude further. Farewell." After speaking, he lightly tapped his foot and began retreating backward. This unexpected turn of events caught Lu Qing off guard. He hadn't expected that a martial artist from the internal organ realm would retreat without a fight when facing him, a martial artist of the muscle bone realm. Truly, it was the character described by Superpower as being cunning, unpredictable, and not concerned with face. The moment he sensed something amiss, he immediately sought escape. But could he really escape? Lu Qing stepped forward and chased in the direction the young man in white had left. "Ma Gu, leave this place to you." "Okay." Watching Lu Qing and the young man in white disappear behind the trees, Ma Gu had no other choice but to comply. Such a level of combat was beyond his capacity to intervene. Yet, he wasn't worried about Lu Qing's safety because he knew that if Lu Qing dared to chase after him, the mysterious creature that had appeared in the Nameless Valley must be nearby. That was a terrifying being capable of easily slaying internal organ realm martial artists. With that being nearby, what he had to consider was whether the young man in white could manage a successful escape. "Ma Gu, what should we do now?" At this moment, Xiao Tian and the others cautiously asked. The brief aura that the young man in white presented upon his departure had made them tremble with fear. It was a sensation far more dreadful than Black Wolf. They could scarcely imagine what kind of expert would possess such a terrifying aura. "Continue dealing with these bodies here. I need to go inside for a moment. Don't worry, with Brother Lu Qing here, nothing will go wrong." After giving his instructions, Ma Gu hurried into the residence. When he arrived in the secret room and saw that Mrs. Wei and her son were still there, he breathed a huge sigh of relief. He had been frightened that they might have already fled through the tunnel, which would have made searching for them quite challenging. "Ma Gu, what happened outside?" On seeing Ma Gu enter, Mrs. Wei and her son were startled, and young Master Wei immediately asked. "To report to Madame, it was Black Wolf, the leader of the Black Wolf gang, leading a large band of his gang to forcibly intrude into the manor, searching for your whereabouts," Ma Gu answered. "The Black Wolf gang? How did they find out we were here?" Young Master Wei asked anxiously. Mrs. Wei couldn't help but frown. On normal days, she had heard from the master that Black Wolf was a martial arts expert of the muscle bone realm at great success. If he were to force his way into the manor, just Ma Gu and the others in the house wouldn't be able to stop him. "I do not know how, but rest assured, Madam and young Master, fortunately, Brother Lu Qing arrived just in time and has killed all the villains from the Black Wolf gang, and the crisis has been temporarily averted." "Lu Qing, the young doctor came?" young Master Wei said with surprise and delight. Mrs. Wei was equally astonished. She thought she had heard Ma Gu say that Lu Qing had killed all the people from the Black Wolf gang, including that Black Wolf with great success in the muscle bone realm. Where is young Master Lu now? There is an even more formidable person behind the Black Wolf gang who is in control. Brother Lu Qing has already pursued him, and I was worried that you might have left through the tunnel, so I came in to check the situation first. Ah? Hearing this, Mrs. Wei and young Master Wei were even more astonished. Chapter 162 Sharpener, Slaying. In the forest, Lu Qing was relentlessly pursuing the white-clothed young man. "Sir, as a powerful martial artist of the internal organ realm, why run away without a fight? Aren't you afraid of being ridiculed by the world?" Lu Qing called out loudly at the white-clothed young man not far away. Anger and shock filled the white-clothed young man when he saw Lu Qing chasing after him. What infuriated him was this insignificant little muscle-bone realm kid daring to mock him so brazenly, treating him with utter disregard. What shocked him was that Lu Qing dared to chase after him so recklessly, which suggested he had some backup, likely meaning that the person who had killed Lao San and Lao Chi the other day was nearby. With this thought, Even though the white-clothed young man was annoyed and longed to turn around and capture Lu Qing at once, his pace quickened even more. Being usually cautious and prudent, he had already resolved to report back to his master and call over the elder disciple. Despite the jealousy he held toward the elder disciple, the white-clothed young man had to admit that in terms of strength, his elder brother was far superior. Being at the perfection of the internal organ realm, having reached the limit of the postnatal realm, without an innate standing in their way, they were the mightiest of martial artists. As long as the elder disciple took action, he no longer needed to fear the hidden master. Then, crushing Lu Qing, a minor muscle-bone realm martial artist, would be as easy as flipping his hand. Seeing the white-clothed young man unperturbed and escaping even faster, Lu Qing heaved a sigh inwardly, realizing that provocation wasn't going to stop his enemy. He had recently experienced a surge in his realm and wanted to test his current strength to see if he could exchange a few moves with an internal organ realm opponent. To his disappointment, the white-clothed young man was too cautious and didn't offer any openings. Seeing the white-clothed young man on the verge of escaping his line of sight, Lu Qing had no choice but to shout, "Little Li, block him!" As the words left his mouth, the white-clothed young man suddenly felt an immensely frightening sense of crisis assailing the posterior of his heart, chilling his back. How can it be? The white-clothed young man was greatly alarmed. Lu Qing should still be more than 20 yards away. How could he be at his back so swiftly? Feeling the bone-chilling coldness behind him, and in an urgent situation, the white-clothed young man could only stab backward with the jade fan in his hands. Hiss! The white-clothed young man's move, piercing the air, was loaded with power, but in the next moment, he felt a lightness in his hand. His jade fan, made of the hard-cold jade and comparable to fine steel, was cleanly severed in an instant, and at the same time, a sharp pain struck his hand. Had he not retracted it rapidly, he might have lost his wrist as well. What? The white-clothed young man was internally reeling. He abruptly stopped and hid behind a large tree that could be encircled by one person, looking back. But what he saw caused his pupils to contract drastically once more. Behind him was utterly empty. There was no one there. The closest person to him, Lu Qing, was still over 10 yards away, rushing towards him. What had just attacked him? In an instant, looking at the jade fan broken into several pieces on the ground and the deeply visible bone wounds on the back of his hand, the white-clothed young man's heart weighed heavily. The unknown was the most terrifying. He couldn't imagine what kind of attack could half-cripple one of his hands in an instant, but he knew that it must be related to Lu Qing, for it was right after Lu Qing's shout that he had suffered the attack. "Face my blade!" The white-clothed young man was cautious of his surroundings, but Lu Qing disregarded his shock. Upon seeing Little Li halt, the man, Lu Qing, who had been rushing over, did not slow down. His war saber drawn from its sheath, he used his momentum to strike down with unstoppable force. It looked as if he meant to cleave both the white-clothed young man and the tree into two with a single blow. This saber technique. Feeling the might of Lu Qing's strike, the white-clothed young man couldn't help his eyelids twitching. In this move he too sensed danger. A careless response might leave him seriously wounded, even with his own strong capabilities. That a mere muscle-bone realm youngster could exhibit such saber technique? Who exactly was this kid? Although the white-clothed young man was astonished, his reaction was not a bit slow. With a will, he controlled his injured right hand to stop the bleeding. The left hand swept across his waist, and a silvery flash, like a venomous snake, shot out, aiming straight for Lu Qing's throat. At this point, the white-clothed young man could no longer afford to ponder what had attacked him. He had to take down Lu Qing as swiftly as possible to make the mysterious entity hesitate from acting in hopes of gaining a chance to break away. A soft sword. Lu Qing was somewhat surprised to see the true nature of that silvery flash. He had thought the white-clothed young man's weapon was solely the jade fan, not expecting that what he truly excelled in was swordsmanship, and within that, the extremely challenging soft sword technique. However, it also perfectly suited the other's sneaky and cunning nature. The white-clothed young man's soft sword, flickering like a venomous snake, was exceedingly fast. It cut through Lu Qing's saber momentum, reaching first despite acting later, aiming to pierce his throat. This single move displayed the high level of his sword proficiency. Taking advantage of the tree's cover and striking suddenly and lethally was indeed unexpected and severely crafty. For an average muscle-bone realm martial artist, even one at the perfection of the bone realm, such a strike would likely be impossible to defend against, resulting in a pierced neck and immediate death. But Lu Qing was clearly not an average muscle-bone realm martial artist. Sensing the white-clothed young man's soft sword was faster than his war saber, he instantly changed tactics. His formidable, wave-like saber force, in an instant, turned into entwining flowing water, with a heavy knock, deflecting the soft sword aside. Chapter 163 Sharpener, Slay_2. Following a twist of his wrist, his body moved with the war saber, which like the nimble flow of a mountain stream, drew a mysterious arc around the trunk, aiming for the neck of the young man in white. This lad's saber technique. The sudden change of move took the young man in white by surprise. Seeing the war saber about to strike his neck, he quickly ducked, narrowly avoiding the blade. Then, with a quick roll to the ground, he instantly distanced himself and looked at Lu Qing with incredible shock. He didn't know how many times he had been surprised by Lu Qing since they'd met. But the saber technique Lu Qing displayed was too unexpected for him. From sheer hardness to the utmost softness, this lad was able to switch so smoothly without any sign of difficulty. Even he had never seen such a level of saber technique realm before. Harmony of strength and gentleness, meticulous to the extreme, a saber master. Did you kill Lao Chi, kid? Instantly, the young man in white recalled the sight of Lao Chi's corpse in the nameless valley, and an exclamation escaped his lips. Lao Chi had been decapitated and his leather armor split open, but the injuries on his body were not severe. Clearly, the enemy's strength was insufficient to cut through Lao Chi along with his armor in one strike. At the time, he had found it odd that someone could so easily kill Lao Chi despite their lack of strength. Now, witnessing Lu Qing's saber technique, he finally had an epiphany. If it was this lad, then surely Lao Chi had no chance to fight back. Lu Qing ignored the young man's shocked exclamation in white. He knew that the Lao Chi the other party mentioned must be Tong Tsonglong. But for such a question he wouldn't respond. While the young man in white was still mentally unsettled, Lu Qing's gaze sharpened. He strode forward and swung his saber again. Humph, what if you are a saber master? You're just in the muscle-bone realm. Am I supposed to be afraid of you? The young man in white was equally annoyed to see Lu Qing disregarding his words. Although he didn't know how Lu Qing, at such a young age, managed to cultivate his saber technique to such a realm. But a realm also requires strength to support it. If a martial artist from the internal organ realm, even someone newly entered into the internal organ realm, displayed grandmaster-level saber moves, he'd surely have to flee in defeat. But it was different for someone in the muscle-bone realm. The gap in cultivation between major realms isn't so easily bridged. Facing Lu Qing's fierce strike, the young man in white shook his soft sword and thrust swiftly, aimed right at Lu Qing's saber-wielding wrist. Lu Qing twisted his wrist, avoided the thrust, and without altering his movement, continued the chop forward. Ting, ting, ting. The sound of saber clashing with sword was incessant, with silver light interweaving. In just an instant, they had exchanged blows dozens of times. One had profound cultivation and immense strength with astonishing sword speed. The other possessed a deep realm of saber technique, with exquisite moves that flowed as he wished. For a time, neither could gain the upper hand over the other. Ting! Another loud clash rang out, and Lu Qing easily blocked the young man's killing move in white. The young man in white then used the rebound force of that strike to retreat far back, temporarily out of Lu Qing's attack range. This time, Lu Qing didn't continue to chase, standing still as well. Seeing Lu Qing so composed, the young man in white clenched his teeth in resentment. If it weren't for his right hand injury and the unfamiliarity of using his left hand with the sword, Lu Qing wouldn't have been able to block his moves so easily. Now he, a martial artist of the internal organ realm, was fighting to a draw with someone from the muscle-bone realm and outright humiliation. Watching the young man's disgruntled face in white, Lu Qing couldn't help but sigh. He could see that although the other's swordsmanship was fierce, there was a slight discord between the moves. That's because he was not adept at wielding the sword with his left hand. Otherwise, Lu Qing feared it would have been more difficult for him. Likewise, Lu Qing also knew that he was able to block the young man's offensive in white largely because the opponent was using a soft sword. Soft sword techniques rely on agility and surprise, and due to the nature of the weapon, no matter how strong one is, it won't be too overpowering. Even in the internal organ realm, one couldn't rely on that to overpower his war saber. One could only seek to exploit vulnerabilities with clever moves for a fatal strike. Unfortunately for the young man in white, his sword technique realm was much lesser compared to Lu Qing's saber technique. Unable to surpass him in skillfulness of moves and unable to crush him with strength. This was why the young man felt so stifled. The path of light and strange swordsmanship he took was exactly restrained by Lu Qing. However, despite having the advantages of right timing and support, Lu Qing knew this was as far as he could go. At best, he could only fight the young man in white to a standstill, but trying to defeat him was exceedingly difficult. The internal organ realm was indeed strong. Even in a wounded state, he was not someone Lu Qing in the muscle-bone realm could easily defeat. If the young man in white knew what Lu Qing was thinking at that moment, he'd be even more infuriated. A mere muscle-bone realm youth, relying on luck to fight him to a draw and yet unsatisfied, foolishly aspiring to defeat him personally, was sheer arrogance. But the young man in white was currently struggling internally. Under the current circumstances, regular exchanges wouldn't allow him to defeat Lu Qing. Should he resort to using a secret technique? The young man in white hesitated. The secret technique could double his combat strength instantly, making defeating Lu Qing a non-issue once used. But that was his last trump card, reserved for whatever mysterious force had injured him earlier. Using it now would leave him defenseless against that mysterious force. Chapter 164 Sharpener, Slay_3. Moreover, after using the secret technique, he would fall into a weakened state with his strength drastically declining. If he couldn't take down Lu Qing in a short period of time, he feared that the time of his death would truly arrive. Little Li attack. However, just as the young man in white was still hesitating, Lu Qing on the opposite side suddenly issued a command to Little Li. Since he had already tested his current strength, Lu Qing naturally wouldn't continue to entangle with the young man in white. This sharpener had lost its value. After giving the command to Little Li, he himself, holding the war saber, pounced forward. He intended to fight without martial honor, teaming up with Little Li to launch a joint attack. The young man in white, upon hearing Lu Qing call out that name again, was shocked to his core. The chill that had previously seized him returned to his heart. Without a second thought, without any hesitation, he immediately circulated his qi blood, stimulating the acupoints all over his body. As the secret technique activated, a formidable power surged forth from deep within his body. The next moment, as the chill in his heart intensified, he saw a white little paw suddenly emerge from the void before him, grabbing towards his chest. What the hell is that? The young man in white was terrified. He had never imagined such a strange occurrence. Without thinking, his soft sword trembled violently, like a swimming venomous snake, quickly stabbing towards that strange little paw. Ding! Just as the strange little paw seemed about to be pierced by his sword, the next instant, a piece of blade edge appeared in front of him, deflecting his soft sword. Immediately after, a black little beast, strange and enigmatic, leaped out from the void before him, dexterously avoiding the sword edge and pouncing toward his chest. Thud! A muffled sound, and the young man in white felt a pain in his body, as if something had left his body, causing his whole body to stagger. His strength began to drain rapidly. The young man in white looked down to see a large hole had been ripped through his chest, piercing front to back. The heart that should have been beating within his body was nowhere to be found. The specially made inner armor he wore under his clothing seemed to have not provided the slightest protection. With disbelief, the young man in white raised his head, about to say something, but saw a section of blade already in front of his eyes, a cut decapitating his head. As the world spun, the young man in white's fading consciousness suddenly recalled everything he had seen that day in the nameless valley. And he realized, so that's how number 3 had died. Thud. As the young man in white's severed head hit the ground, Lu Qing's expression didn't change at all. In fact, just little Li alone was enough to kill the young man in white. However, to avoid complications, he chose to end the fight quickly. Looking at the corpse of the young man in white, Lu Qing felt somewhat sentimental. It seemed that he really didn't get along well with Wang Tsangyi. In this short period of time, 3 of his disciples had died at his and little Li's hands. If that innate realm individual discovered his identity, he'd likely search heaven and earth to seek revenge. Thinking this, Lu Qing immediately grabbed the corpse and head of the young man in white and went deeper into the mountains. Eventually, he found a rarely trodden valley and buried it. After doing all of this, he relaxed somewhat. The vast mountains made it extremely difficult to find a living person, let alone a corpse. For Wang Tsangyi to find his second disciple's corpse would probably be as hard as reaching the heavens. Although this couldn't completely deceive the other party, as long as the disciple's body wasn't seen for a day, Wang Tsangyi probably wouldn't dare confirm his true death. Just drag it out for a bit longer until his master's strength increased. Then the situation would be different. Chapter 165. Another relocation, transformation, and apprenticeship. Lu Qing, brother, you're back? When Lu Qing returned to the market, Ma Gu greeted him with a face full of surprise. At the same time, the heart he had been holding was finally set at ease. Lu Qing had been gone for over an hour, and to say Ma Gu wasn't worried would be a lie. Now he had finally returned safely. Lu Qing nodded. Mrs. Wei and the others are all right. They're fine, just a bit shaken, Ma Gu replied. Lu Qing, brother, that man in white. He's been dealt with, Lu Qing said coolly. But Ma Gu was shocked. Although he had anticipated it, the confirmation from Lu Qing still astonished him. After all, that man had been at the level of the internal organ realm, and including him, 2 experts of the internal organ realm had now died at Lu Qing's hands. They must credit the mysterious creature for some of it, but clearly, the creature was also under Lu Qing's command. To say that it was his own strength was not an exaggeration. By the way, Master Ma, this place is no longer safe. We probably need to relocate, Mrs. Wei, Lu Qing said. The Black Wolf Gang had come this time without hiding their tracks. Once the county found their disappearance, they would definitely send people to investigate. Soon they would track it to the market. But where can we relocate them to? Ma Gu wondered, distressed. He knew too well that keeping Mrs. Wei and her son in the house was no longer safe. But for the moment, he could think of no other place to shelter them. Lu Qing also felt troubled. Mrs. Wei and her son were like hot potatoes now. No matter where they hid, they might bring death upon the people there. Unless those who would harbor them were not afraid of an innate realm expert like Wang Tsangyi. After thinking it over, Lu Qing said, "It seems the only plan for now is to hide them in the mountains. The mountains were vast and hiding someone there would be easy. Now that Mrs. Wei's injuries had healed, as long as they were well prepared, staying hidden in the mountains should be no problem. We have no other choice." Ma Gu nodded. "Let's go in and ask for the lady's opinion." The 2 entered a dark chamber. Young Master Lu, Mrs. Wei and her son were overjoyed to see Lu Qing. They had been shocked and very worried when Ma Gu told them Lu Qing had gone to chase the enemy. Now seeing him return safe, they were relieved. "Madam, young master," Lu Qing nodded in response. "The evil ones outside have been temporarily dealt with, but it's already clearly unsafe for you and the young master to stay here." Lu Qing shared his idea of relocating them. Mrs. Wei pondered for a while and did not object. Since their whereabouts were likely compromised, staying here was not only unsafe but also posed a risk to nearby people. So moving was the best solution. Seeing Mrs. Wei agree, the rest was easier to handle. They immediately packed their belongings and essential daily supplies. Lu Qing and Ma Gu carried the packs, and along with Mrs. Wei and young Master Wei, they left through the tunnel in the dark chamber. However, before leaving, Ma Gu had also ordered Xiao Tian and the others to temporarily close the market and scatter to find places to avoid detection. Coming out of the tunnel, Lu Qing and his group had reached the mountain behind the market. Lu Qing carried the bags for young Master Wei while he carried Mrs. Wei, and the four of them headed deeper into the mountains. In the deep mountains, after some searching, Lu Qing finally found a hidden cave on a cliff more than 10 meters high in a valley. After cleaning, it became a temporary shelter for Mrs. Wei and her companions. After that, Lu Qing also scattered a bag of medicinal powder around the cave entrance. "Madam, I apologize for the inconvenience of staying here. This medicinal powder can repel insects and animals. With it, ordinary wild beasts and poisonous creatures wouldn't dare come near," Lu Qing explained after settling everything. "I wouldn't dare call it inconvenient," Mrs. Wei quickly replied. "Given the current circumstances, my son and I are very grateful even just to have a place to stay. I will deliver some living supplies every few days. Just let me know if you need anything." After settling Mrs. Wei and her son, Lu Qing prepared to leave. He would not stay in the valley, but Ma Gu would stay with Mrs. Wei and her son. Otherwise, with their lack of experience surviving in the wilderness, it wouldn't take long for trouble to arise. "Brother Lu Qing, let me walk you out." At this moment, Ma Gu suddenly spoke. "All right." Lu Qing didn't refuse. The two reached the cave entrance and jumped down to the valley floor. At the entrance, there was actually a vine ladder, but clearly, for the likes of Lu Qing, such aids were unnecessary. "Master Ma, seeing how you move, your muscles and bones are powerful. You must be close to achieving small success in the muscle-bone realm, right?" Upon reaching the valley floor, Lu Qing observed Ma Gu and remarked, "You really can't hide anything from Brother Lu Qing. Indeed, after my encounter with that leather armor youth, I gained some insight and touched upon the principle of bone marrow small success." Ma Gu laughed. He felt somewhat fortunate. Previously, he was being relentlessly pursued by that leather armor youth, and in his bid to escape, he had pushed his abilities to the limit. Unexpectedly, after surviving that ordeal, his potential was unlocked, and he touched the threshold of bone marrow small success. Just because of his injured shoulder, he had not been able to focus on his cultivation. Thus he had not fully entered that realm. Chapter 166. Another move, changes, and becoming an apprentice _2. This is certainly a joyous occasion, and I don't have much to offer. Lu Qing took out a white porcelain medicine bottle and tossed it to Ma Gu. Ma Gu, caught off guard by Lu Qing suddenly throwing an elixir his way, awkwardly caught it in his hands. With some confusion, he asked, "Brother Lu Qing, what kind of elixir is this?" "This is a few bone-forging pills that Housekeeper Wei gave me before," Lu Qing explained. "They are quite beneficial for martial artists in the muscle-bone realm to aid in their cultivation." Indeed, what Lu Qing had given was the thank-you gift from the Wei family, those 3 bone-forging pills. Bone-forging pills? Ma Gu was taken aback on hearing this. How could he not have heard of such precious pills that could assist in the cultivation of the muscle-bone realm? "Brother Lu Qing, this is too precious," Ma Gu quickly said. "It's all right. These pills are of no use to me anymore," Lu Qing insisted. "It's a waste for me to keep them. Better you have them." The main effect of the bone-forging pills was to help martial artists in the muscle-bone realm expand their sinew and bone potential during cultivation. But having consumed earth vein spirit liquid like rare treasure liquid, and absorbed a lot of the primordial chi white mist condensed by the heaven and earth rules during his master's breakthrough, Lu Qing's potential had already reached its limit. Though the bone-forging pills were good, it was impossible for them to enhance his potential any further. Even to assist in cultivation, he had better pills like the bone-strengthening and muscle-relaxing pill. Therefore, these bone-forging pills were not of much use to him now and were better given to Ma Gu. Lu Qing quite admired Ma Gu. He was a friend worth making, and Lu Qing was more than willing to lend a helping hand on his path of cultivation. "Brother Lu Qing, then, I will shamelessly accept it." Ma Gu said, clutching the medicine bottle visibly moved. Such precious elixirs like the bone-forging pills were not even in the possession of the Ma family. Usually, only major families and sects could produce them. Small powers could only hope to buy them for a hefty price. Although Ma Gu had a respectable status within his clan, not being from the direct line, his family would not spend a large sum on such precious cultivation resources for him. Now Lu Qing had given him such precious pills without a second thought, deeply touching Ma Gu's heart. Okay, since we are friends, there's no need for too many thanks, Lu Qing said. And remember, Mr. Ma, you must only refine these bone-forging pills after you've officially reached small success in the muscle-bone realm and stabilized your foundation. Otherwise, the potency of the pills is too strong and can seriously harm your body. I will remember that. Ma Gu was startled. He truly did not know there was such a contraindication in taking bone-forging pills. I'll be leaving now, and I'll come back in a few days to check up on you all, Lu Qing then said. Just rest and recuperate here peacefully for now. With that, Lu Qing began to move, leaping away and soon vanishing into the valley. Watching Lu Qing disappear into the forest, Ma Gu stood there dazed for a while before he climbed back to the cave via the vine ladder. Mr. Ma, has Dr. Lu Xiao left? Young Master Wei asked. Yes, he said he would come back to visit us after some time. What is that in your hand? Young Master Wei saw the medicine bottle in Ma Gu's hand. This is from Brother Lu Qing just now, Ma Gu replied openly. He told me it was the bone-forging pills that your Wei family had once given him. Bone-forging pills? Young Master Lu did not take these pills? Mrs. Wei asked in surprise. She had personally selected the pills from the family's medicine store, never expecting that Lu Qing would not use them. Brother Lu Qing said that the pills are not of much use to him anymore, Ma Gu explained. That taking them would be a waste, so he gave them to me. Mrs. Wei fell silent for a moment. Earlier, in the secret room, she had heard from Ma Gu that Lu Qing's martial arts cultivation might have reached the great achievement of sinew and bone. At the time, she was surprised and thought that the bone-forging pills they had given to Lu Qing must have been of some help. But it turned out that Lu Qing did not take those pills at all. In this way, the debt of gratitude the Wei family owed to Lu Qing had grown even larger. Mrs. Wei was sighing, and beside her, young Master Wei also had a troubled expression on his face. After hesitating for a moment, he finally spoke up. Ma Gu, can you teach me martial arts? Young Master, what did you say? Ma Gu doubted he had heard correctly. I said, can you teach me martial arts? Said young Master Wei, now unfazed after speaking out, candidly. Young Master is jesting. Your family has many experts, any one of whom could easily defeat Ma. If you wish to learn martial arts, you could ask them in the future. How could Ma's superficial skills possibly teach you? Ma Gu repeatedly shook his head. The Wei family had a profound background. He probably couldn't even handle a silver moon guard. To teach young Master Wei, wouldn't that be leading him astray? But our bodyguards are not here at the moment. They can't teach me. Young Master Wei earnestly said. Besides, whether my mother and I can survive and return to the Wei family is still unknown. If villains find us tomorrow and want to capture my mother and me, what should I do? Am I to just watch you fight alone, hiding on the side like a useless person? I don't want to be like that anymore. I also want to have the strength to protect my mother myself. So Ma Gu, please teach me. I can promise you, no matter how tiring or difficult, I can persevere. Ma Gu looked at young Master Wei in surprise. As for Mrs. Wei, her beautiful eyes widened. She couldn't believe her son had said such words. She hadn't expected him to ever say something like that. After all, when he was in the mansion, an heir had always detested martial arts training. If it got a little tough, he would complain endlessly, hardly able to continue. Usually, he was always slacking off, shirking duties, wholly uninterested in cultivation. The martial masters in the mansion didn't dare to force him and had no way to deal with him. Thus, even with the resources of the mansion, in the end, an heir had only managed to barely cultivate to the Qi blood realm and learned a few fancy but useless moves, having no real combative skills. Hearing her son's sudden request to learn martial arts, how could Mrs. Wei not be shocked? Looking at her son's serious expression and the stubble on his face, Mrs. Wei realized, after these days of hardship, her son's face had become much more resolute. His entire demeanor had drastically changed from before. Overjoyed, Mrs. Wei also stood up and bowed to Ma Gu. Mr. Ma, since an heir has such determination as a mother, I too humbly ask you, could you agree to his request? I can let him perform the rites of a disciple for you. Madam, that must not be. Ma Gu was greatly alarmed, repeatedly waving his hands. The rites of a disciple were not trivial. It was a major ceremony conducted only between actual masters and disciples. That is to say, Mrs. Wei was actually offering her son to truly become his disciple, to be the teacher of the young master of the Wei family. Even if Ma Gu were given a few more doses of courage, he wouldn't dare. What's not to be, Mr. Ma? You are renowned for your righteousness, risking danger many times to rescue us. A rare virtue in this world. It would be a blessing for an heir to apprentice under you, Mrs. Wei earnestly said. Madam, please stop flattering me. How much Ma is worth? Don't I know it myself? Ma Gu said, embarrassed and smiling wryly. However, if the young master truly wishes to learn martial arts, then I can teach him, as long as Madam and the young master do not mind my modest skills. An heir? Aren't you going to thank Mr. Ma? Mrs. Wei said. Thank you, Master. Young Master Wei was straightforward, immediately knelt down, and gave Ma Gu several deep kowtows, shouting loudly. This. Ma Gu hadn't expected young Master Wei to kowtow to him so promptly. By the time he thought to stop him, it was already done. For a moment, Ma Gu was in a daze. He couldn't quite understand how he had become young Master Wei's master in such a befuddled state. Chapter 167 One Breath Stick Technique. Lu Qing didn't know that after he left, Ma Gu had actually become young Master Wei's teacher. Returning home, he remained attentive for a few days and noticed no unusual people lingering near the village. The death of the man in white probably hadn't been exposed yet. 2 more days passed, and he packed some belongings before heading to the hiding place of Ma Gu and his associates. Just as he entered the cave, he saw Ma Gu seriously training young Master Wei in horse stance in a spacious cavern, which greatly surprised him. After learning the reason, he felt happy for Ma Gu. Master Ma, congratulations on gaining a promising disciple. Not far away, young Master Wei was practicing his horse stance while Mrs. Wei watched over him. On another side, Lu Qing casually chatted with Ma Gu. For someone of the Wei family's heritage, having Ma Gu become young Master Wei's teacher was definitely a good thing for him. The current concern was whether the Wei family could survive this crisis. Brother Lu Qing, stop joking with me. How much my martial arts are worth? I know better than anyone, Ma Gu said with a bitter smile. I'm just afraid of not teaching well and leading the boy astray. It's fine. Just take it step by step and help the young master lay a solid foundation. I think that can never be wrong, Lu Qing suggested. That's what I thought too, so these past few days, I've had him practice horse stance to cultivate his chi blood. Xian has essentially been doing very well. What surprised me, though, is that Xian's martial arts talent is actually quite good. Once he focuses, he quickly grasps some mysteries of the circulation of chi blood. I think it won't take long for him to break through to the small success stage of the chi blood realm. Young Master Wei's name was Wei Xian, and since Ma Gu had become his teacher, he naturally couldn't continue addressing him as young master, as that would be against etiquette. Oh, that's great. Why the long face then? Lu Qing was also a bit surprised. The better Xian's martial arts talent is, the more anxious I become. What should I teach him when the time comes? Ma Gu was worried. That's easy. Just ask what martial arts he likes, and then you can teach him that, replied Lu Qing. He knew that Ma Gu excelled in saber technique and was also quite adept at swordsmanship. I've asked, but Xian's preferences seem to be a bit different. At this point, Ma Gu's expression turned somewhat strange. What martial arts does he like? Lu Qing was curious. Stick technique, Xian is more fond of stick technique, Ma Gu replied helplessly. But my knowledge of stick technique is very limited. How can I teach him?
Stick technique.
Lu Qing's expression also became odd. He didn't expect the gentle and clean-looking Wei Xian to favor stick technique. Aren't these heirs from great families usually fonder of swordsmanship or saber technique, or refined short combat arts like the Jade Fan? I was surprised too, but Xian said that last time when I was being pursued and he was alone in the cave guarding his mother with a wooden stick, that stick was his only support. So he vowed that when he has the chance, he must learn very powerful stick technique so that he can protect his mother. Lu Qing. Alright, although that explanation was a bit bizarre, it wasn't unreasonable. However, when it comes to stick technique, watching Ma Gu looking worried, Lu Qing thought for a moment. He said, I happen to know a stick technique, but I don't know if young Master Wei would look down on it. Brother Lu Qing, you also know stick technique? Ma Gu was astounded. Just a bit. Recently, when I had nothing better to do, I just played around with some common martial arts I got from my teacher. Ma Gu looked at Lu Qing speechlessly. Listen to this, is this even human talk? What does he mean by playing around with some common martial arts when bored? He had always thought that the rapid progress in Lu Qing's martial arts cultivation was due to relentless and disciplined practice without the smallest slack. But now Lu Qing was saying that he also could afford to idle away time practicing some common martial arts to pass the time. Is this the daily routine of a true martial arts genius? What Ma Gu thought to be genius also needs incredibly hard practice for rapid progress. But it turns out that isn't the case at all. Ma Gu felt somewhat disarrayed. However, he recalled the scene several days ago when Lu Qing had killed Black Wolf with a single punch. The Black Wolf had dominated the county for a long time, having reached great success in the muscle-bone realm, with formidable boxing skills and few rivals. Yet he couldn't withstand even one punch from Lu Qing. Before that, Ma Gu never knew that Lu Qing's boxing skills were so powerful. So his knowledge of stick technique seemed to not be an unbelievable thing after all. Thinking this, Ma Gu hurriedly said, Any martial arts skill that Brother Lu Qing deems worthy must be extraordinary, and I'm sure Xian would definitely not scorn it. Then all right, I'll ask him later if he's willing to learn. The two walked toward the cavern where Wei Xian was practicing. This cave was specially chosen by Lu Qing. With a hidden entrance and a spacious interior, divided into several chambers, it allowed Ma Gu and his associates to live separately and avoid awkward situations. The cavern where Wei Xian practiced horse stance was the largest one, easily accommodating dozens of people. Master Ma, young Master Lu. Mrs. Wei stood up to greet the two men as they approached. As for Wei Xian, he was practicing horse stance until his face turned red and his legs trembled. Yet he dared not speak easily, fearing that losing his focus would prevent him from continuing. Xian, that's enough. Rest for a while. Seeing his disciple reach his limit, Ma Gu spoke up. Chapter 168 One Breath Stick Technique _2. Ha! Hearing this, Xian could no longer stand and collapsed to the ground, gasping heavily. Seeing this, Ma Gu nodded slightly with satisfaction. In the past few days, he had indeed seen his disciple fulfill the promise made at the time of apprenticeship. No matter how hard or tiring, he never complained and strove to do his best. Xian, didn't you want to learn the stick technique? I'm ignorant in that skill. I'm afraid it would be hard for me to teach you, Ma Gu said. Brother Lu Qing just mentioned he knows a stick technique. Would you like to learn it? Young Master Lu, aren't you skilled in the saber technique? Wei Xian replied in astonishment. He had seen that every time Lu Qing appeared, he was always carrying a war saber. Brother Lu Qing is truly a martial arts genius. He easily masters any type of martial arts. Hence, the stick technique is naturally no difficulty for him, Ma Gu praised. I wouldn't call myself a genius, but I do know a little about the stick technique. If the young master doesn't mind, I could teach it to you, Lu Qing said with a light laugh. Learn, of course learn. Wei Xian nodded repeatedly. With Wei Xian's agreement, Mrs. Wei had no objections either. She too hoped her son could learn the martial arts he liked. Thus, Lu Qing went out into the mountainside forest, found a suitable resilient tree branch, cut and trimmed it into a stick, and brought it back into the cave. Young master, the stick technique I know was originally an advanced discipline within the muscle-bone realm. Your current cultivation is shallow and not enough to cultivate it. I have simplified it into 8 forms, which you can cultivate even at the Qi blood realm. As long as you learn them, ordinary Qi blood realm martial artists will not necessarily be your match. Lu Qing, holding the stick, stood in the center of the cave chamber, speaking slowly. Upon hearing this, Wei Ziyan became somewhat excited, watching Lu Qing with keen eyes. Honestly, he had never seen Lu Qing fight with his own eyes. To him, Lu Qing seemed just a common young man, about his own age, with nothing to show for his martial arts realm. Even during their previous journeys, Lu Qing's aura was extremely contained, showing nothing outwardly. But from the teacher's praise, Lu Qing was held in high esteem, going as far as to say that if he and Lu Qing were to spar, he wouldn't withstand even half a move before being defeated. Moreover, with what his teacher said a few days ago that Lu Qing had single-handedly annihilated the entire Black Wolf gang, including the leader who had achieved great success in the muscle-bone realm. All of this made Wei Ziyan extremely curious about Lu Qing's strength. Now hearing that Lu Qing was going to demonstrate the stick technique, he was, of course, delighted. Even Mrs. Wei looked on with anticipation. As for Ma Gu, he was even more amazed. To simplify a high-level martial arts technique from the muscle-bone realm was no easy feat. It required a deep understanding and full mastery of the discipline. Brother Lu Qing's earlier modesty was evidently not just modest words. This technique, called one-breath stick technique, is corely about the continuous, unified intent of the moves. Having said that, the stick in Lu Qing's hand swirled like a flipping river dragon, casting shadows of sticks all over the skies. Under the stirring of the long stick, the air currents surged within the cave, the sticks sound whooshing, each strike reverberating through the air with immense force. Feeling the oppressive nature of the stick shadows before him, Wei Ziyan felt overwhelmed, yet his eyes were incredibly bright. Is this the stick technique young Master Lu is going to teach me? As Wei Ziyan murmured to himself, Lu Qing's demonstration reached its final form. His long stick was first drawn back, then rapidly jabbed out, striking 7 times each, creating a booming sound that echoed through the cave. Suddenly, the myriad of stick shadows converged, revealing Lu Qing's calm demeanor. Wei Ziyan was already watching wide-eyed. Even Ma Gu and Mrs. Wei seemed a bit dazed. After a while, Wei Ziyan finally came back to his senses and hastily asked, "Young Master Lu, what do you call that last move?" "This move is called 7 stars in a chain. The key is to burst forth continuously within a single breath, demanding high control over Qi blood. Mastering this move signifies that you have learned the entire stick technique," Lu Qing replied with a smile. 7 stars in a chain? Wei Ziyan recalled the formidable execution of the move just demonstrated by Lu Qing, and his eyes shone with admiration. "Young Master Lu, I want to learn this stick technique. Teach me. Teach me." "Sure, I will now pass on to you the moves and key points of this stick technique." Watching Lu Qing now instructing Wei Ziyan in the stick technique, Ma Gu finally regained his senses, his eyes showing awe. The stick technique that Lu Qing had just displayed was exquisite, filled with vigor. Even he could not find a single flaw. And this, according to Lu Qing, was still a simplified version. How powerful must the original one-breath stick technique be? Brother Lu Qing's strength was truly unfathomable and immeasurable. Alright, you have already remembered the key points of the first 2 moves of the one-breath stick technique. Next, as long as you diligently cultivate and fully grasp them, it won't be a problem. Once you are proficient in these 2 moves, I will teach you the remaining ones. Wei Ziyan indeed possessed the talent for martial arts training, as Ma Gu had said. Lu Qing had taught him for half an hour, and he had essentially mastered the first 2 moves of the one-breath stick technique. What was lacking was only the practice. "I understand, Dr. Lu," Wei Ziyan responded loudly. At this moment, he was inexplicably excited. He found that the mnemonic key points Lu Qing explained while teaching the stick technique were very easy to remember. Compared to the enigmatic and obscure mnemonics his father's masters taught at home, these were much simpler and clearer. It made him feel for the first time that martial arts training could be so simple. All right, then you go ahead and practice on your own. Seeing the excited look on Wei Xian's face, Lu Qing shook his head and after giving an instruction, let him practice on his own. He then walked over to where Ma Gu and his companion were. Thank you for your hard work, young Master Lu. This is the first time I've seen an heir so enthusiastic about a martial arts skill. Previously at home, whenever his father asked him to practice martial arts, it seemed as though it was torturing him. Watching Wei Xian seriously practicing the stick technique, Mrs. Wei expressed her gratitude. The young master's talent in martial arts is quite good. As long as he is willing to sincerely cultivate, his future in martial arts is immeasurable, Lu Qing said with a smile. I don't really hope for him to achieve much in martial arts. As long as he can defend himself and live on without being bullied even if the Wei family is gone, I will be completely satisfied, Mrs. Wei sighed. Lu Qing did not speak. He knew that Mrs. Wei was still pessimistic about the calamity that had befallen the Wei family. Indeed, the Wei family's ancestor from the innate realm was still missing, presumed dead. Under such circumstances, facing the oppression of the Zhang sect, anyone would feel despair. Madam, please take heart. It's been this long, and those people are still searching for you and Xian's whereabouts. It seems that back at your residence, they are still holding out. Otherwise, they wouldn't need to expend so much effort to trouble you too. Ma Gu spoke up, reassuring her. Ma Gu's words were not without reason. Upon hearing this, Mrs. Wei's spirit was immediately lifted. That's true. The house is still holding on. How can I speak of such discouragement here, amusing you too? No harm done, madam. Your willpower is very strong, something we have seen with our own eyes and greatly admire, Lu Qing said earnestly. Mrs. Wei did not understand martial arts, and her physical fitness was just slightly better than that of an ordinary woman. Having endured such severe injuries before, her will was stronger than many accomplished martial artists. This was something both Lu Qing and Ma Gu highly respected. In the following days, Lu Qing's life returned to its usual calm. It became his regular routine of studying medicine, cultivating, and leisurely fishing. Only now, every few days, he would go into the mountains to deliver some living supplies to Ma Gu and his companion and to check on Wei Xian's progress in his stick technique cultivation. In such leisurely days, Lu Qing's cultivation continued to swiftly advance. On a certain morning more than 10 days later, while practicing in the bamboo forest, his body trembled, and a glint of light flashed in his eyes. Finally, perfect bones and muscles. Chapter 169. Introduction to the Rune Path, Divine Soul Power. Feeling the formidable strength concealed within his body, Lu Qing felt somewhat satisfied. Perfect muscle and bone realm. It represented the muscular strength of postnatal realm martial artists reaching one's own limit. Continuing to temper with Qi blood could no longer increase it even in the slightest. Even if he broke through to the internal organ realm, the strength of his muscles and bones wouldn't increase much. Unless there was a great opportunity to obtain some magical spiritual medicine, it might be possible to break the limit again and further strengthen the muscles and bones. But Lu Qing had already consumed earth vein spirit liquid, which greatly enhanced his own talent. His muscular strength now was several times stronger than that of an ordinary practitioner at the perfection of the muscle and bone realm. Finding spiritual medicine rarer than earth vein spirit liquid to continue breaking through limits seemed unlikely. What comes next should be to solidify the foundation and then strive to break through to the internal organ realm. However, the breakthrough in the muscle and bone realm certainly pleased Lu Qing. What made him even more delighted was another breakthrough. Lu Qing picked up a green bamboo leaf and quietly looked at it. At that moment, a bamboo leaf, ordinarily unremarkable to the common eye, appeared very special to him, especially the patterns on it which carried a different implication. After so long, I finally understood the basics of the rune path. Gently turning the bamboo leaf in his hand, Lu Qing revealed a smile. It was only at the moment of attaining perfection in the muscle and bone realm leveraging that perfect state of mind, that he had an epiphany which made him break through the rune path, which had been at a bottleneck for some time. The 300 mysterious runes in his mind were all deciphered for a trace of implication and could be correlated with patterns in the real world. Truth be told, since obtaining the Divine Talisman sect inheritance, Lu Qing had practiced the rune path for quite some time. It could be considered the most difficult technique among all the inheritances he had received. Even with the aid of superpower, it still took him so much time to truly get started. These days, he observed all kinds of things in daily life. Pots, bowls, ladles, stones, leaves, flowers, weeds, gold, silver, jewels. Anything he could see, he would try to observe from a perspective of calming the mind and cleansing the heart. The more he observed, the deeper Lu Qing's understanding of the 300 mysterious runes in the summary of the runes became. Gradually, a subtle insight began to form in his heart, accumulating slowly. But this insight had reached a bottleneck not long ago, and no longer progressed. Lu Qing could feel that he was only one step away from truly starting the rune path. But that step remained elusive. The inheritance left by the Divine Talisman sect stated that this step had to be comprehended by oneself. Because the rune path is ever-changing and contains the supreme truth of the universe. Every practitioner of the rune path has their unique insights and understanding of the connection between runes and the universe. Adhering too rigidly to the experiences of predecessors might instead become a restraint and hinder future cultivation. This was why Lu Qing had been stuck on this step for so long. Now, leveraging the breakthrough in the martial arts realm and the realization during the transformation of Qi blood and muscles, he inadvertently opened the massive gate of the rune path. It was my narrow view. The first mantra of the Divine Talisman sect legacy demands the disciple to regard all things in the universe as teachers. I only observed external objects and forgot that humans themselves are also part of all things. Living creatures themselves are the most magical and unbelievable existence among all things in the universe. Without understanding the mysteries of life, how could one sketch a spirit talisman with a soul? Of course, sketching a spirit talisman with a soul, this almost divine technique, isn't something that an ordinary rune practitioner could master. Even within the Divine Talisman sect's legacy, this was treated merely as a lofty pursuit. Presently, it was even less likely for Lu Qing to comprehend such profound mysteries. He only had an epiphany about the mysteries in Qi blood flow and flesh transformation during his own breakthrough, feeling inspired, and thus started on the rune path. He still hadn't mastered even the simplest runes, let alone sketching a spirit talisman. However, now that I've started on the rune path, I can finally cultivate the secret technique mentioned in the inheritance. Lu Qing's eyes shimmered with a faint light. Within the Divine Talisman sect legacy, there was a special secret technique that allowed cultivators who hadn't achieved postnatal realm perfection / divine soul power. But this secret technique also had its cultivation prerequisites. 1. The cultivator's physical condition must at least reach the muscle and bone realm level. This was necessary to withstand the stress of the divine soul during refinement. 2. The cultivator must have started the rune path, and their heart and spirit must be strong to a certain extent. Only when these two conditions are met, and protected by a rare treasure liquid such as Earth Vein Spirit Liquid, can one cultivate the secret technique. Thus, although the Divine Talisman sect's secret technique allows cultivators to cultivate divine soul power prematurely, the conditions for its cultivation are equally stringent. It's nearly as difficult as cultivating to perfection in the internal organ realm. Fortunately, Lu Qing now met all the conditions. Seeing that it was still early in the day, Lu Qing thought for a moment and then set out with little Li to the mountains. Before long, the two, a man and a little beast, arrived at the valley where the Jade Cave was located. Looking at the valley filled with the chirping of birds and fragrance of flowers, Lu Qing's mind drifted momentarily. Chapter 170. Introduction to Rune Path, Divine Soul Power, _2. Since he had left the valley last time, this was his first return. When he had left, he was still a Qi blood realm martial artist. Now upon returning, he had reached perfection in the muscle-bone realm. His strength had increased immeasurably. One major reason for such a rapid enhancement in his strength was largely attributed to the opportunities he had discovered in the cave. Standing before Li Weiyan's grave, he paid his simple respects, and then Lu Qing took little Li and leapt into the cave behind the waterfall. Inside the Jade Cave, everything was the same as when he had left, unchanged. However, Lu Qing looked at the runes in the cave and felt differently about them. The last time he hadn't yet begun to study the rune path, and while he found the runes on the cave walls mysterious and profound, he couldn't decipher their secrets. Now that he had entered the doorway of the rune path, looking at these runes ignited various insights in his mind. He felt a sense of awe as if gazing up at towering peaks. The mysterious being who had created the Jade Cave was indeed profoundly inscrutable in the ways of runes. Standing in front of the cave wall for a long time, Lu Qing felt like he'd gained substantial insights in the rune path, stepping truly into its grand gateway. It seemed that going forward, he would need to return to this cave for further elucidation. Lu Qing secretly decided. He casually pushed open the hidden door of the cave and entered the dark room where Li Weiyan had passed away. Inside, everything was the same as before. Little Li, guard the outside for me and protect me while I cultivate for a while, and let no one disturb me, Lu Qing instructed little Li. The secret technique in the inheritance was risky to practice and highly sensitive to disturbances. Though the Jade Cave was hidden and unlikely to be visited by anyone, Lu Qing still prudently asked little Li to protect him, ensuring absolute safety. Seeing little Li nod seriously, Lu Qing felt reassured and closed the door of the dark room. Then, he sat down cross-legged on the stone bed where Li Weiyan had once sat, slowly regulating his breathing. After getting his body into optimal condition, a jade bottle appeared in his hand. It was the same bottle he had taken when he left, filled with earth vein spirit liquid. Without hesitation, Lu Qing poured a drop of the earth vein spirit liquid into his mouth. The spiritual liquid transformed into a vast and vibrant exotic energy inside him. Lu Qing dared not delay and immediately began practicing the technique in the scripture, circulating his qi blood in a peculiar trajectory towards the acupoint between his eyebrows. As the qi blood surged, Lu Qing's face swiftly turned red, especially between his eyebrows, which seemed nearly ready to bleed. However, his expression remained calm as he controlled the surging qi and blood power with potent control abilities. This was a very dangerous practice, for the acupoint at the forehead is vital and should not be damaged lightly. Fortunately, since his saber technique realm had reached the postnatal grandmaster level and he had understood the fine balance of harmony and strength, he had excellent control over his body. He could manage his qi blood precisely, refining the acupoint with the secrets detailed in the secret technique. During the refining process, the bizarre vital energy from the earth vein spirit liquid constantly flowed into the acupoint, nourishing and stabilizing this mysterious location. Throughout this process, Lu Qing carefully controlled the qi blood, not allowing any lapses in concentration. Nevertheless, after a while, he still made an error. The controlled qi blood veered slightly off course, causing injury to the acupoint at the forehead, nearly leading to a collapse. Luckily, the bizarre energy from the earth vein spirit liquid fiercely protected the acupoint, preventing it from collapsing. It also quickly repaired the injury, restoring it to its original state. Feeling these changes, Lu Qing sighed in relief. This was the perilous aspect of this secret technique. The human brain is extremely delicate. Even martial artists are no exception. Even powerful experts of the inner organs realm would not dare to recklessly direct their qi and blood power towards their heads, because damage to the brain could lead to unimaginable consequences. At the least, one could be paralyzed or become an idiot. At worst, it could be fatal. Lu Qing would never dare to practice this secret technique if he didn't have the earth vein spirit liquid at hand. With this experience, Lu Qing became even more cautious as he polished the acupoint between his eyebrows. In this highly focused state, Lu Qing's heart and spirit were quickly drained. However, he remained calm and persevered. Before long, he felt the vital energy within him start to weaken. Without hesitation, He immediately opened the jade bottle and poured another drop of earth vein spiritual liquid into his mouth. With the addition of this drop of spiritual liquid, his spirits lifted, and he continued his cultivation. In this manner, Lu Qing persistently followed the secret technique's mental method, circulating his qi blood and polishing the acupoint. Whenever the energy of the earth vein spiritual liquid faded, he would pour another drop into his mouth. After an indeterminate amount of time, when Lu Qing had consumed the fifth drop of earth vein spiritual liquid and its energy was more than half depleted, he finally felt an invisible sound resonate in his mind. It was as if an egg had cracked, and the acupoint between his eyebrows was finally opened by him. With this opening, Lu Qing felt as if the whole world had changed. However, before he could deeply experience this change, the remaining vital energy within him, along with all his qi blood power, rushed into the newly opened acupoint. A wave of weakness surged from within Lu Qing. He dared not delay and immediately poured 3 more drops of spiritual liquid from the jade bottle and swallowed them. These 3 drops of earth vein spiritual liquid quickly transformed into vital energy, replenishing the deficit in Lu Qing's body. The rest continued to be incessantly infused into the acupoint between his eyebrows. It was unclear how such a small acupoint could contain so much energy. In this way, under the continuous supply of vital energy, a peculiar power slowly began to form in the acupoint between Lu Qing's eyebrows. When this peculiar power manifested, Lu Qing's body shuddered. As if blessed by divine insight, without thinking, he poured all his heart and spirit into the acupoint, merging with the peculiar power. Then, with a boom, he entered a strange state. In a daze, unaware of how much time had passed, Lu Qing slowly opened his eyes. His eyes revealed a look of enlightenment. Is this the divine soul power? It truly is astonishing. At that moment, in the acupoint between Lu Qing's eyebrows, a lively and peculiar divine soul power was slowly moving. Compared to the spacious acupoint, it seemed so insignificant. But it was this strand of divine soul power, cultivated from much earth vein spiritual liquid and fraught with danger, that was exceedingly precious. And this strand of divine soul power did not disappoint Lu Qing. At this moment, the world seen through his eyes had transformed. Is this what Master referred to as the heaven and earth primordial qi? Sensing the subtle energy flow around him, Lu Qing realized this was probably what his master had referred to as heaven and earth primordial qi. However, his divine soul power was still weak and could not clearly sense these energies. Moreover, since his physical body had not yet cultivated to postnatal perfection and his qi acupoints were not relaxed, he could not induce energy into his body and directly achieve innate. However, after cultivating the divine soul power, Lu Qing also felt a much tighter connection between his heart and spirit and his physical body, which significantly enhanced his control over his body, likely surpassing even those at the internal organ realm. At this rate, the day he would break through to the internal organ realm might come even sooner. Of course, these changes were secondary. The truly important transformation, which Lu Qing valued the most after cultivating the divine soul power, was that he could finally commence the genuine cultivation of the rune path. The first step in cultivating the rune path was to stabilize the mind, cleanse the heart, sense the essence of all things, discern the commonalities among the various textures of the world, and verify these against the runes in the master guideline to find the opportune moment for entry. Once past the entry stage, the second step involved genuine rune cultivation. And for this step, divine soul power was absolutely indispensable. Now, Lu Qing had finally met this requirement. Chapter 171. The Great War begins. Bear. How is it? Has Yuhua returned? In a certain residence in the county, Wang Tsang's face was grim. He had sent his second disciple out on an errand, but the disciple had simply vanished without a trace. He thought it was because the damn boy couldn't complete the task and didn't dare to come back to see him. After all, his second disciple always liked to take shortcuts in his work, always scheming. But now he had a bad feeling. No news of the junior brother, not even the members of the small faction he had subjugated have returned, but the people who went out to search brought back this. The first disciple, a burly man, also wore an ugly expression at this moment. He produced a slender piece of jade. What is this? Wang Tsang did not quite understand why his first disciple had brought out this piece of jade. This piece of white jade, known as corundum, is unique to the northern border. It is produced near our Tiansong sect. The fan bone of the jade fan that the second disciple usually carries is made of this corundum. Moreover, there were numerous bloodstains found around the area where this piece of the fan bone was discovered. Also, several miles away, our people found a large pit containing some remains that had not been completely burnt to ashes. The burly disciple explained. What are you saying? Wang Tsang's heart sank suddenly. I suspect that the junior brother has met with an accident, and it's likely that the small faction he took with him also did not survive, the burly disciple speculated. Actually, from the information brought back by those who were sent out, he felt this guess was very close to the truth. Otherwise, not even if he had the audacity, would he dare to stay away so long without reporting back. Good, very good. Wang Tsang's face was dark, his body quivering with rage. Who exactly is it, to have such a grudge against me, Wang Tsang, to kill several of my disciples? Do they really take me for someone they can mold as they wish? Feeling the terrifying evil chi radiating from the master, the burly disciple's heart also chilled. He knew the master was truly enraged. Master, what should we do now? The Wei family has been stubbornly resistant and refuses to surrender. Meanwhile, there's this mysterious force watching us covetously. Shall we continue to drag this out? In fact, the burly disciple felt stifled as well. Their Tiansong sect had a loud reputation in the northern border. Anyone who heard their name would fear them by 3 parts and dare not be enemies. Yet, in this remote little place they had been repeatedly thwarted. Several junior brothers had died in unclear circumstances, and they didn't even know who the murderer was. Such a huge loss had never been suffered by their Tiansong sect before. What's there to drag out? If we continue dragging this out, I'm afraid that one day, even you might fall. Wang Tsang spoke with an icy tone. Since someone is breaking the rules, wanting to reap the benefits of a fisherman, then don't blame me for flipping the table. Bear, prepare the troops immediately, we're attacking the Wei mansion. Today, I want to completely level the Wei mansion. But master, without the second and third disciple now, we lack sufficient combat power from the internal organ realm, and probably aren't strong enough to break through the Wei family's Silver Moon battle formation, the burly disciple said anxiously. It doesn't matter. I will lend a hand when necessary. That Silver Moon battle formation is nothing to fear, Wang Tsang said coldly. Master, if you make a move, what about the sacred prohibition from the holy mountain? The burly disciple gasped with shock. If it was anywhere else, they might have been able to kill others and destroy evidence to leave no proof. But this was the county, with the county lord mansion present. Clearly, they would not be able to escape the observation of everyone. Now that it has come to this, do you still think we should retreat? What of the sacred prohibition? At worst, after this matter, I will go to the holy mountain and imprison myself for 10 years. Stop wasting words and immediately do as I say. Wang Tsang had to obtain the treasure of the Wei family. As long as he could obtain that treasure, even being imprisoned for 10 years would be worth it to him. The burly Great Han, hearing his master's words, knew his mind was made up, and it would be difficult to dissuade him. I must obey, the disciple said. Yes, master, I will prepare now. After the senior disciple left, Wang Tsang looked up at the sky, his eyes filled with resolute determination. No matter who you are, if you think you can take advantage of me, Wang Tsang, we'll have to see if you have the skill. Brother Wang, have you truly decided? At this moment, a voice sounded. An old man with white hair and a ruddy complexion walked out from within. Clearly, he had heard the conversation between Wang Tsang and his disciple. Yes, I ask for Brother Zhao's assistance. Wang Tsang seemed not at all surprised by the presence of the red-faced elder. Instead, he sincerely requested his help. So be it, the red-faced elder sighed. Although I do not approve of your behavior of killing for treasure, I owe you my life after all. This time, Let's say I'm repaying you with my life. Brother Zhao, you're too serious. Inside the Wei family, only family head Wei Xinghe has achieved the perfection of the inner organs realm. With your help and my son's, defeating him will be as easy as lifting a hand. The red-faced elder shook his head, saying nothing more. If it were that easy, Wang Tsangyi wouldn't have delayed for so long. He could have attacked the Wei family directly upon his arrival. Evidently, the Wei family's reliance was not so simple. The burly disciple was highly efficient. Soon, a large group of martial artists gathered in the courtyard of the residence. Master, everyone has been assembled, the burly disciple reported. Good, Wang Tsangyi murmured, and then turned to the red-faced elder. Brother Zhao, I'm in your debt. Before long, a large number of martial artists set out from the residence, pressing towards the Wei mansion. Such a commotion naturally could not escape the notice of the attentive in the city. At the county lord mansion, the middle-aged man with phoenix eyes, upon hearing his subordinate's report, felt a shiver in his heart. So, it's finally happening? In recent days, the county had been very quiet, so quiet that he almost believed the mastermind behind the scenes had given up. Quickly, summon Ji Rui. Lord County Master, Lord Ji Rui is not in his room. Hearing Ji Rui was not there, the man with phoenix eyes felt his heart sink, knowing that this time it was going to be for real. His figure flashed, and he vanished from the courtyard, rushing towards the exterior of the mansion. At that moment, dozens of martial artists had already assembled outside the Wei mansion. Wei Xinghe, I'm giving you one last chance. Will you surrender or not? The burly Great Han stood at the forefront. His booming voice demanded. Ha ha ha, I've already answered that question long ago. The Wei family has those who die in battle, not those who surrender. Wei Xinghe's voice came from within the mansion. Fine, since you're so stubbornly resistant, don't blame us for being ruthless. The burly Great Han had anticipated this response. He appeared solemn, lifting his hand high, then swinging it down. Kill. Leave no one alive in the Wei family. Yes. As soon as his voice fell, several burly men, wielding heavy meteor hammers, stepped forward. They swung their meteor hammers swiftly, gathering all their strength before violently throwing them forward. The target was the stately and solemn vermilion gate of the Wei mansion. Boom! With the powerful impact, the gate of the Wei mansion came crashing down. Chapter 172. Grandmaster's Clash. In Song County, the Wei family. In the past, the Wei mansion, esteemed and feared by all, was now in complete chaos, blood everywhere. Many bodies lay on the ground, lifeless. Just a quarter of an hour ago, they were robust martial artists, full of vigor and vitality. Inside the spacious front courtyard of Wei mansion, two groups of people were confronting each other. A burly man watched the scene before him with an expressionless face. Among those lying on the ground were his men as well as the Wei mansion's Silver Moon Guards. These were the remnants of their first clash when they had stormed in. The Wei family's Silver Moon battle formation was indeed formidable. Although his men were generally of higher cultivation than the Silver Moon Guards, when it came to a real fight, his side suffered more with more casualties. Wei Xinghe, you really have something. Your Wei family's Silver Moon battle formation indeed lives up to its reputation. The burly man couldn't help but exclaim. Despite being enemies, he had to admit the prowess of the Wei family's Silver Moon battle formation. A few people could form a formation, their qi connected to each other, coordinated silently, as one entity. Even when facing an enemy a level stronger than themselves, they could still fight. Such a sophisticated battle formation, he wondered where the Wei family had acquired it from. Even their Tianzong sect did not possess such a powerful formation. You flatter us, it's just a minor formation, not worthy of a grandmaster of the internal organ realm with perfection like yourself, replied the Wei family patriarch indifferently. He looked at the fallen Silver Moon Guards on the ground, a trace of sorrow in his eyes. It wasn't easy to train each of the Silver Moon Guards in the mansion. Many were personally selected by him and had grown up under his watch since their youth. Seeing them dead now, how could his heart not ache? But even if your Wei family's Silver Moon battle formation is powerful, it can't stop so many of us. Wei Xinghe, do you really want to watch Wei Mansion be leveled to the ground? Sparing neither chicken nor dog. As long as you hand over the treasure, I promise you, I'll immediately take my men and leave Wei Mansion and Song County. How about that? The burly man said. Do you think I am a 3-year-old child, to trust the words of a man who leads a horde of villains storming my Wei Mansion? Scoffed Wei Xinghe. If that's the case, then it's such a pity, the burly man said regretfully. If possible, he truly did not wish to have a mutually destructive fight with the Wei family. The majority of the people they had brought were from the external forces of the Tiansong sect. But if the losses were too great, even his master, who was an esteemed elder in the sect, could not avoid being held responsible. Now it seemed this battle was inevitable. The burly man turned and respectfully bowed to an elderly man with a ruddy face behind him. Mr. Zhao, please lend me a hand. Ah, why must it come to this? The ruddy-faced elder sighed and stepped forward. Don't worry, leave this Wei family patriarch to me. After you break their battle formation, join forces to capture him. Wei Xinghe's heart sank as he saw the ruddy-faced elder step forward. From the aura emitted by the man, he knew this was another Grandmaster-level expert in the inner organs realm of perfection. Although he was prepared, knowing the enemy would come prepared, the moment he saw the ruddy-faced elder step forward, Wei Xinghe couldn't help but feel a heavy weight in his heart. Now, however, there was nothing he could do but to meet soldiers with generals, and water with earth. Family head Wei, let us have a little spar, said the ruddy-faced elder decisively. No sooner had his words fallen did he, utilizing some unknown movement technique, suddenly appear in front of Wei Xinghe and lightly strike out with his palm. Though the palm seemed gentle, in Wei Xinghe's heart arose a very dangerous premonition. He could not afford to be careless, and immediately flipped his arm forward to block. Boom! Wei Xinghe's block did not seem fast and appeared very sluggish. But when their arms collided, a muffled sound erupted, and a powerful chi force burst from around them. The bluestone slabs they were standing on shattered inch by inch, spreading outward. The entire front courtyard shook, incredibly horrifying. Many martial artists in the courtyard, upon witnessing this terrifying scene, looked on with shock. 2 martial arts experts at the inner organs perfection had just clashed and exhibited such tremendous power. Such was the terror of a grandmaster. How formidable the Mian palm! Wei Xinghe stepped back several paces, exhaled a breath of turbid air, and said in a deep voice, "The Wei family master's boxing is equally extraordinary." The elder with the ruddy face similarly exclaimed. Wei Xinghe looked at the ruddy-faced elder with a solemn expression. The clash had let him know that this elder's realm and strength were not beneath him. To not be defeated, he could only give it his all. "Ahai! I'll leave the rest to you," Wei Xinghe instructed. "Yes, master." Standing behind him, the Grand Steward in silver armor responded. "Then let Wei witness your superior skills once again." This time it was Wei Xinghe who took the initiative to strike. He moved with the grandeur of a dragon and a tiger, stepping forward, and in an instant, he was in front of the ruddy-faced elder, like a flood dragon emerging from a cave, throwing a punch at him. As the punch was thrown, a fierce wind arose. Before the fist even reached, the powerful punch wind already flapped the elder's clothes sharply. Facing this awe-inspiring punch, the ruddy-faced elder merely smiled lightly. His palms gently entwined towards Wei Xinghe's arms, appearing soft but, like a dragon-binding rope, they had lethal intentions wanting to break Wei Xinghe's arms. Wei Xinghe saw the ingeniousness of this move, yet he was undaunted. His chi blood exploded, continuing to hammer towards the elder's chest. Bang! When their arms contacted, another collision ensued, raising a gust of wind. In an instant, the 2 Grandmaster-level martial artists had exchanged more than 10 moves. Each clash of fists and palms caused the ground to tremble tremendously, leaving the onlooking martial artists agape. The only one who remained calm was the burly Great Han at the inner organ's perfection. "What are you staring at? Charge forward with me. Break through this silver moon battle formation." The burly Great Han's cold voice sounded, chilling his subordinates to the bone. "Yes." Seeing the burly Great Han already rushing forward with his saber, none of the subordinates dared hesitate and followed suit. However, as they charged forward, everyone avoided the area where Wei Xinghe and the ruddy-faced elder were fighting. They weren't able to participate in a battle between Grandmaster-level martial artists. A slight misstep might mean being torn apart by the fists and palm winds of the two. "Form up." The Grand Steward in silver armor, leading all the Silver Moon Guards, held a spear as piercing as a python emerging from its lair. Behind him, numerous Silver Moon Guards arranged into a mysterious formation, linking their chi with his. "Wind Thunder Saber. Break it." The burly Great Han's chi blood exploded, his expression stern, as his saber raised a sound of wind and thunder, cleaving forward with one strike. Chapter 173. The Might of the Battle Array. Appearance of the Innate Realm Great Grandmaster. Boom! The clash of saber and spear created a powerful burst of energy. Just days before, Grand Steward Wei, who had only recently broken through to the great success of the internal organs realm, felt a tremendous power surge through his spear, shaking him to the core. Fortunately, he was positioned within the Silver Moon battle formation, linked by energy with the other Silver Moon Guards. The force that reached him was quickly dissipated and transferred outwards, shared among the other Silver Moon Guards. This allowed him to maintain a firm grip on his spear without injury. However, despite not being injured, Grand Steward Wei's heart was still filled with shock. It was truly worthy of a perfect internal organ realm. The strength was terrifying. Even with the enhancement from the Silver Moon battle formation, he barely managed to withstand that attack. Damn! The burly Great Han was also shaken back 2 steps. Seeing that Grand Steward Wei had taken his full force slash without being hurt, he knew that by himself, he likely couldn't break through the Silver Moon battle formation. Though reluctant, he still commanded his subordinates, "Spread out, everyone, and attack this formation separately." His men immediately dispersed, surrounding and attacking the entire Silver Moon battle formation. And the burly Great Han continued his assault on Grand Steward Wei. Both sides clashed once again. The Tiansong sect had slightly fewer people than the Wei family's Silver Moon Guards, but overall, they possessed superior strength. Logically, the Silver Moon Guards should have soon become overwhelmed and defeated. However, to their surprise, the Wei family's Silver Moon battle formation was too exquisite. Once it got going, it was unending, with the hearts and minds of dozens of people in sync as if they were one. Connected by their energy, every Silver Moon Guard could benefit from the power of the battle formation. Thus, after some time, it was the Tiansong sect that was being pushed back step by step. This Wei family's Silver Moon battle formation, how could it be so formidable? A figure stood on the corner of a rooftop, watching the battle below, his phoenix eyes filled with astonishment. According to the rumors, the Wei family's Silver Moon Guards must be trained from a young age, living and eating together, practicing the same cultivation technique, and training together. Only after years and years can they achieve such perfect communication and perform the Silver Moon battle formation so flawlessly. People have doubted the Wei family's Silver Moon battle formation in the past, but now, seeing the power demonstrated by the formation, it truly deserves to be considered a top-tier protective treasure for the family. Any family with such a formation can ensure the prosperity of their lineage for a century. At this moment, the burly Great Han felt equally furious and shocked. Although he had made sufficient estimations of the Wei family's protective battle formation, he did not expect the Silver Moon battle formation to be so intricately perfect. Even with him at the forefront, leading so many martial artists, they still couldn't break through the array. Darn it. If it weren't for the death of the second and third brothers, with their help, even if the Silver Moon battle formation were more exquisite, it would have definitely been broken. At this moment, the burly Great Han felt a heightened hatred for the mysterious forces lurking in the shadows. The second and third brothers were both martial arts experts with small success in the internal organs realm, not to be underestimated in strength. If they were still alive, joining him to lead a team of martial artists each and attack simultaneously from 3 sides, even this formidable Silver Moon battle formation would not be able to withstand such tremendous pressure. Instead of the current situation, where they were always just short of the power to break the formation. We must think of a solution. The anxiety in the burly Great Han's heart grew, because he noticed that the longer the battle went on, the more smoothly the opposing formation operated. It was like an unbreakable and indestructible resilient rubber ball, full of resilience yet also tremendously tense, balanced in both attack and defense. Unconsciously, his side had started to suffer casualties, whereas the other side had not lost a single person. If this continued, inevitably, it would be his side that would face defeat. With this thought, the force behind the burly Great Han's war saber grew even more formidable. Boom! Once again, taking the burly Great Han's mighty slash, Grand Steward Wei skillfully redirected the force to avoid injury. After such a long battle, his command over the Silver Moon battle formation became even more adept. Seeing the enemy begin to suffer casualties, his spirit was lifted, and he began to see the hope for victory. If they could just crush this group of martial artists, they could go support the family head and slay the red-faced elder. By then, the Wei family's crisis would be largely resolved. The other Silver Moon guards also realized this. Inspired by this, the onslaught of the Silver Moon battle formation became even more fierce. Could the Wei family really be about to win? The Lord County Master, the middle-aged man with phoenix eyes on the corner rooftop, also noticed the change in the situation below, his eyes full of astonishment. However, that person would probably not allow such a thing to happen, right? Just as the thought passed through his mind, he suddenly felt a chill rise from within his heart. An uncontrollable shiver spread throughout his body. With awe in his eyes, he looked towards the highest part of the opposite rooftop. There, unbeknownst when, another figure had appeared. A terrifying presence emanated from this figure, causing him, an experienced martial arts expert within a step from the perfect realm, to tremble uncontrollably. Innate realm. In an instant, the man with the phoenix eyes knew the origins of that figure. Other than the mysterious and overwhelmingly powerful innate realm expert, who else could possess such a terrifying aura? This figure's appearance also caught the attention of the numerous martial artists in the front courtyard below. Chapter 174. The Might of the Battle Array. Appearance of the Innate Realm Great Grandmaster _2. For a moment, everyone's bodies trembled uncontrollably, and they involuntarily stopped what they were doing. There was no helping it. The figure on the roof exuded such a terrifying presence that no one could overlook. Even Wei Xinghe and the red-faced old man, who were still entangled in a fight, suddenly separated and retreated to either side, looking towards the rooftop with trepidation and uncertainty. Master! The burly Great Han's pupils shrank. Second Elder! The martial artists who had come with the burly Great Han also exclaimed in shock. Master, Second Elder? A thought crossed Wei Xinghe's mind, realizing that the person arriving was the behind-the-scenes mastermind who had brought calamity to the Wei family. A bunch of trash. Wang Tsangyi looked down at the scene below with a dark expression. He hadn't expected that so many of his subordinates would not only fail to handle the Wei family but even show signs of defeat. This was something the always arrogant him couldn't tolerate. The burly man's body trembled, and he immediately knelt on one knee. Disciple has been inept. Please punish me, Master. The other disciples of the Zhongyun sect also quickly knelt down. Humph! Wang Tsangyi snorted coldly but said nothing. These worthless disciples indeed needed punishment, but that was not for now. His gaze swept over the kneeling disciples before settling on the Wei family crowd, eventually focusing on Wei Xinghe. Are you the current family head of the Wei family? Being under Wang Tsangyi's gaze, Wei Xinghe immediately felt a tremendous weight upon him, as if a massive mountain had fallen onto his shoulders, making it difficult to breathe. Fear uncontrollably welled up from the depths of his heart, and he couldn't help but want to kneel and beg for mercy. Not good. Wei Xinghe realized that this was the influence of the innate realm's pressure, causing him to have hallucinations. He clenched his fists tightly, thrusting his nails into his palms, and under the sharp pain, his mind finally broke free from the fear, and his vision cleared. Indeed, I am Wei Xinghe, the current patriarch of the Wei family. I have seen the distinguished personage of the innate realm. Wei Xinghe bowed deeply, his posture very humble. Good composure, quite the talent. With your temperament, given time, you might indeed cultivate your own divine soul power and step into the innate realm. Seeing that Wei Xinghe had freed himself from the innate pressure, Wang Tsangyi's expression did not change, but he actually offered praise. I dare not. Wei Xinghe's heart quivered. The more composed the other party was, the more uneasy he felt. Wei Xinghe, I am giving you two options now. One is to hand over that treasure, and I will spare your Wei family. The other is for me to take action personally and obliterate your Wei family completely. Which option would you like to choose? As expected, Wang Tsangyi's following words shocked Wei Xinghe greatly. He cried out urgently, Sir, the Holy Mountain has decreed that those of the innate realm should not harm those below the innate level at will. Does Sir intend to defy the Holy Order? Presumptuous! Wang Tsangyi's face darkened, and a powerful aura burst forth from him, instantly creating a gale. All the martial artists below felt as if a great mountain was pressing down on them. Those with weaker resolve immediately knelt down, faces filled with fear. As for Wei Xinghe, who bore the brunt of the pressure, he felt the burden on him multiply as if the heavens were about to collapse upon him, so oppressively that he even shattered the thick Qing stone slabs under his feet. Hallucinations. These are all hallucinations. Wei Xinghe kept reminding himself internally, refusing to allow himself to kneel. As the patriarch of the Wei family, he had felt the might of the innate realm from his ancestors. He knew that this inborn momentum couldn't directly injure people. As long as his will was strong enough, he could treat it as if it were a breeze, not affecting him. With continuous mental reassurance, Wei Xinghe actually withstood the pressure, and despite trembling, he remained standing, without kneeling. Upon witnessing this scene, a hint of surprise appeared in Wang Tsangyi's eyes. If previously Wei Xinghe's resilience could be explained by his strong will, it was another matter that he could persevere under the full force of his aura now. This indicated that Wei Xinghe's will far surpassed that of an ordinary martial artist at the peak of the internal organ realm. Will is closely related to one's heart and spirit. If previously Wang Tsangyi's words were 70% deception and 30% coaxing, giving Wei Xinghe a prospect of reaching the innate realm, with the intent to lessen his will to fight and make him surrender the treasure, now he felt that Wei Xinghe might indeed have the potential to step into the innate realm. Especially after his aura had washed over the environment, it wouldn't be long before Wei Xinghe might truly comprehend the divine soul power because of it. This man must not be left alive. With that thought, Wang Tsangyi's gaze suddenly sharpened. He raised his hand, and a white sword qi materialized from thin air, speeding straight towards Wei Xinghe. What? Wei Xinghe was shocked. He couldn't have imagined that a mighty innate realm cultivator would actually stoop to such a level of shamelessness. Not only did he make a move against a postnatal realm martial artist like himself, but he did so in an almost sneak attack manner. Wei Xinghe wanted to dodge, but the sword qi arrived too swiftly, and coupled with Wang Tsangyi's oppressive aura still bearing down on him, he couldn't bring even 30 to 40% of his full strength to bear, much less dodge in time. He could only watch helplessly as the sword qi was about to strike him. My life is over. Wei Xinghe sighed in his heart and closed his eyes. Yet in his mind, two figures involuntarily surfaced. My lady, an heir. I'm afraid I won't be able to come find you myself. Wei Xinghe closed his eyes, waiting for death. The other martial artists also widened their eyes, watching this unfold. However, the next moment an even more shocking scene occurred. Just as Wang Tsangyi's sword qi was about to hit Wei Xinghe, a red light suddenly emerged, overtaking and blocking the white sword qi. Boom! White and red lights collided, and an intense explosion erupted. Under the tremendous outburst of chi force, not only was Wei Xinghe sent tumbling away, but even nearby martial artists were destabilized, rolling on the ground like scattered gourds. Wang Tsangi, you still haven't changed, using such shameless sneak attacks against a junior in the postnatal realm. Truly disgraceful for someone of the innate realm. After the blast, an old yet vigorous voice rang out from above the crowd. Grand Ancestor! Shocked to the point of spitting mouthfuls of blood and suffering from chest pains, Wei Xinghe was too preoccupied with his injuries to care and looked up, his face showing a surge of overjoyed relief. Indeed, on another rooftop he saw a familiar figure. That old man with a fierce character and powerful stature, carrying a war saber on his back. Another innate realm figure. Feeling the aura emanating from this newly appeared figure, the martial artists below instantly realized that here stood another innate realm grandmaster. And to hear Wei Xinghe's address, this elder was the famed patriarch of the Wei family. Damn it! Another innate realm cultivator has appeared. Amid the tense atmosphere, one person felt extremely fearful. The middle-aged man with phoenix eyes didn't dare to move an inch under the eaves. Sure enough, it's not the right time to enjoy the commotion. Why did I get curious? If I had left earlier, none of this would have happened. The middle-aged man with phoenix eyes lamented in his mind. Currently trapped between two innate realm powers, he found himself in a dilemma with no way to escape. He didn't dare dream that the two innate realm masters hadn't noticed him. His only hope was that they would respect his status as county lord and not make things difficult for him. Wei Shanhai, you really aren't dead. Wang Tsangi's expression remained calm as he looked at the Wei family patriarch and spoke slowly. Pa! I, Wei Shanhai, have a long life ahead. You deceitful coward will die before I ever will. The Wei family patriarch, Wei Shanhai, spat in contempt. Humph! Even if you're not dead, your central veins have been hit by my sword chi. You probably still haven't fully expelled it, have you? With your primordial chi greatly damaged, how much of your full strength can you really wield now? Wang Tsangi said with a smile. I'm not sure how much strength I can use, but to kill a treacherous person like you who speaks honeyed words but harbors malice, it should be more than enough, Wei Shanhai retorted with disdain. Really? Then let's see you try. Wang Tsangi lifted his arm, and a white sword chi began to condense in his palm. Not afraid of you. Wei Shanhai's gaze intensified, and a sword light also emerged in his hand. As the aura of the two innate realm powers collided, the martial artists below suddenly found breathing difficult, their hearts oppressively heavy as if they were about to meet their end at any moment, a profound discomfort spreading among them. An overwhelming sense of fear arose within everyone. They could sense that if these two innate realms started to battle here, they would likely suffer collateral damage. The two of you, are you sure you want to fight here within the city? That's when a plain voice sounded. Chapter 175. The Danqing Jade Scroll, Shocking Retreat and Reasons. Who dares to challenge the authority of two innate realm existences? As the martial artists, almost suffocated under the pressure of the two innate realms, heard this remark, they were stunned. Then they saw a figure appear, walking slowly from the Wei Mansion's main gate. He was a young man in simple clothes with an ordinary appearance. In his hands he held a jade scroll. This jade scroll emitted a soft white light, enveloping the cloth-clothed youth and allowing him to walk freely under the daunting pressure of the two innate realms, unobstructed. This bizarre scene not only shocked the gathered martial artists. Even Wang Tsangi and Wei Shanhai, both innate realm experts, couldn't help but narrow their eyes. Both of you, Holy Mountain once issued a decree that innate realm martial artists must not attack those below innate without reason, nor engage in combat of innate level in populated cities. Do you intend to defy this decree? Facing the scrutiny of the two powerful innates, the cloth-clothed youth remained composed, yet his tone grew increasingly stern. Dan Book Jade Scroll, are you a representative from Tianji Building? Wang Tsangi stared intently at the jade scroll in the hands of the cloth-clothed youth, his expression serious. Tianji Building's Ji Rue, at your service, esteemed innate realms. The cloth-clothed youth bowed slightly and said calmly. Hearing the admission from the cloth-clothed youth, Wang Tsangi was shaken. He quietly observed the cloth-clothed youth for a while and slowly dispersed the sword qi in his palm. Although uncertain of his true identity, he had heard of the mystical Dan book Jade Scroll. Such a mysterious scroll could only be activated by ones from Tianji Building. Even Wei Shanhai sheathed his sword light. However, unlike Wang Tsangi, his heart somewhat relaxed. He knew that, with the appearance of someone from Tianji Building, today's battle would likely not occur. Wang Tsangi keenly sensed this slight fluctuation in Wei Shanhai's spirit. He immediately understood that his opponent was not yet healed and had been merely bluffing just now. In an instant, Wang Tsangi's face darkened. He looked at the cloth-clothed youth and questioned. It is well known that Tianji Building does not partake in conflicts between the world's factions. Mr. Ji Rui, are you intending to break this stance? The position of Tianji Building has never changed, Mr. Wang. No need for doubts. The cloth-clothed youth replied indifferently. Your conflict with Senior Wei is of no interest to Tianji Building. But if you both insist on fighting within the city, you should know the consequences. Wang Tsangi's expression flickered. Had the cloth-clothed youth not been there, he could have killed Wei Shanhai, annihilated the Wei family, obtained the treasure, and then fled. Then, even if Holy Mountain pursued the matter, he could have lowered his responsibility to the minimum. But now, with the cloth-clothed youth present, he dared not act rashly. It was rumored that the Dan book Jade Scroll from Tianji Building had a magical ability. The content written on it could be transmitted instantaneously to the headquarters of Tianji Building, quite mystical. With the cloth-clothed youth present, even if he slaughtered everyone in the city to silence them, he likely could not prevent the news from leaking. Wei Shanhai, do you dare to fight me outside the city? Wang Tsangi's face darkened as he was silent for a moment, suddenly yelling at the Wei Patriarch.
Ha ha ha, Wang Kanji, no ruse.
This old man has traveled for days and is a bit tired. Give me a few days to recuperate, and I will personally come and take your head. However, seeing the hardy and bold Wei Shanhai, he just laughed heartily, showing no intention to fight. You! Wang Tsangi grew furious. Cowardly old thief! You lack even the spirit to fight. You disgrace the 3 words innate realm. Unlike you, a despicable villain who only knows how to attack from behind, engaging in petty theft, retorted Wei Shanhai. You! Wang Tsangi's chest heaved violently, knowing that Wei Shanhai had decided to hide in the city like a coward. Yet he had no way to lay hands on him, if he insisted on starting a battle unless he could kill Wei Shanhai instantly. Otherwise, no matter the outcome, as long as others were harmed during the fight, he could not escape the pursuit of Holy Mountain. Thinking of the penalties for starting an innate-level battle in the city, Wang Tsangi shuddered. He did not want to spend the rest of his life confined to Holy Mountain, living in constant fear. After weighing his options, knowing that Wei Shanhai, even if unhealed, wasn't someone he could kill instantly at this moment, Wang Tsangi just gritted his teeth, glaring at Wei Shanhai, his voice fierce. Old man, just wait. I won't give up until I get that item. You'd better stay in the city forever, hiding like a coward, or else the day you leave this county will be the day you die. With that, a loud blast sounded, and his figure vanished atop the roofs. Master! Seeing Wang Tsangi leave abruptly, the robust Great Han and others were alarmed. Aren't you leaving yet? Wei Shanhai did not trouble these men further. His voice deepened as he shouted, releasing a powerful burst of energy. The robust Great Han and others dared not linger. Hearing this, they hurried towards the exterior of Wei Mansion. Those who were slow were kicked by the people behind them, scrambling desperately to escape. Once all members of the party had left, Wei Shanhai then addressed someone under the eaves. Sir, please come out. Was there someone else hiding above? Chapter 176. The Danqing Jade Scroll, Retreat and Reasons _2. The people of the Wei family all looked in that direction. Beneath the scrutiny of many, a figure crawled out from beneath the eaves, dropped to the ground, and stood there with poise. I pay my respects to Senior Wei. The middle-aged man with phoenix eyes first bowed to Wei Shanhai, then turned to the cloth-clothed youth and said, Mr. Ji Rui, it's good that you arrived in time, otherwise I might never have seen you again. Upon seeing this figure, the people of the Wei family were all somewhat dumbfounded. No one had expected the county lord to be hiding in that spot. The cloth-clothed youth also hadn't expected his friend to be hiding there. Even his usually calm demeanor now bore a look of astonishment. Seeing his friend still acting nonchalant, he couldn't help but sigh. You really need to change your love for watching spectacles, because one day, if I hear news of your death, it wouldn't be a surprise. Mr. Ji Rui, that's a bit unfair. Why would a friend curse me with death? As the two bickered, Wei Shanhai also landed on the ground and bowed to the cloth-clothed youth. Thank you, Mr. Ji Rui, for saving the lives of my entire Wei family. The cloth-clothed youth's expression returned to its usual calm. He faintly said, Senior Wei misunderstands. My presence here was not to relieve the Wei family from any situation, but because I did not want to see anyone defying the Holy Mountain's prohibition. No matter the reason, your arrival indeed saved our Wei family, a favor Wei Shanhai will never forget, Wei Shanhai declared. The cloth-clothed youth shook his head and walked away without saying another word. Mr. Ji Rui, why the rush? Wait for me. Let's go for a drink together. The middle-aged man with phoenix eyes bowed to Wei Shanhai and chased after him while shouting. Wei Shanhai watched the two leave the Wei mansion without calling out to keep them. Ancestors. Once all the outsiders had departed, Wei Xinghe, clutching his chest, led the family members to approach excitedly. Xinghe, the situation was urgent just now, and I couldn't fully block Wang Tsangyi's sword qi, causing you to be injured? I hope it's nothing serious? Wei Shanhai asked. It's nothing. Who would have thought that an innate realm expert would resort to a sneak attack on a junior like me? Luckily, you arrived in time, ancestor, Wei Xinghe said, shaking his head. That Wang Tsangyi has always been despicable and shameless. He doesn't care about reputation, Wei Shanhai scoffed. Ancestor, why didn't you keep Mr. Ji Rui here? He saved our Wei family, and just letting him leave seems somewhat discourteous, Wei Xinghe inquired. Wei Shanhai shook his head. It's not that I didn't want to keep him. It's just that his status is special, and he usually doesn't get close to other powers. Keeping him would have been making things difficult for him. Wei Xinghe still wanted to ask, but Wei Shanhai gestured with his hand. Let's go inside and talk. Have someone tidy up the courtyard first. Wei Xinghe had to hold his questions until they were inside the house with only him, the Grand Steward, and the ancestor present. Then he continued, Ancestor, when did you return? I have been back for several days, but I haven't entered the city because I knew Wang Tsangyi would be waiting in the shadows to strike. Ancestor, who are these people exactly? And what is the grudge between you and Wang Tsangyi? This question had been troubling Wei Xinghe for some time. Such a treasure had always been hidden and secret, known to only a few in the family. Why then could this mysterious force know about it? The attackers on our Wei family mostly came from a sect force in the northern border called the Heavenly Tsang sect, where Wang Tsangyi serves as the second elder. As for the grudge between him and me, Wei Shanhai sighed before continuing, he and I were once friends. Friends? How then? Wei Xinghe and the Grand Steward were shocked. That was a matter of 100 years ago. As Wei Shanhai narrated, Wei Xinghe and the others slowly came to understand what had truly happened. 100 years ago, Wei Shanhai was a vigorous and bold young man. At that time, he had achieved greatness in martial arts cultivation, and though young, he was a martial arts expert with perfect bones and muscles, a rare martial arts genius in the Wei family in a century. To find a breakthrough to the internal organ realm and to broaden his horizon, Wei Shanhai, at the age of 20, decided to travel and meet the heroes of the world. During his travels, he met a young man about his age, Wang Tsangyi. Wang Tsangyi, from a major sect, was exceptionally powerful and well-experienced. In both strength and experience, he surpassed Wei Shanhai, who originated from a lesser-known family at the time. The two felt an instant kinship, and Wei Shanhai was particularly impressed by Wang Tsangyi's demeanor. Eventually, the two swore brotherhood. After becoming sworn brothers, they ventured through the martial world together, experiencing and witnessing much. However, it was during these travels that Wei Shanhai slowly realized that Wang Tsangyi was not as grand and noble as he seemed. His heart was not as expansive as it appeared. Sometimes he would pick on the weak over trivial issues. He was quick to take vengeance, and if anyone offended him, even by accident, he would slay them to vent his anger. If not for Wei Shanhai often intervening, many times he even wanted to vent his anger on others' families, obliterating entire clans. Thus, throughout their travels, their ideologies and discourse on dealing with matters diverged, leading to frequent arguments. Chapter 177. The Danqing Jade Scroll, Retreat and Reasons _3. But at that time, in Wei Shanhai's heart, he still considered Wang Tsangyi a brother. He thought that although Wang's actions were a bit extreme, he was still a righteous person. What really caused their rupture was an incident after the two went to explore a secret chamber together. In that mysterious land, they inadvertently deciphered a cave dwelling and obtained a great opportunity. However, when it came to dividing the treasure, disagreements arose. Wang Tsangyi believed that since he had put in more effort during the process of deciphering the cave, he should be entitled to 90% of the treasure. Wei Shanhai, however, felt that since they were brothers, they shouldn't be so calculative. Even though he hadn't exerted as much effort, he had also protected Wang Tsangyi from a lethal trap when entering the cave. By that reasoning, even if he didn't get half, he should receive more than just 10%. The two had an intense argument once more, nearly coming to blows. In the end, Wei Shanhai stepped back. He was willing to take only 10% of the treasure, but with one condition, that he picks his share first. Unexpectedly, Wang Tsangyi didn't even agree to this request, insisting that they take turns picking one item at a time. Thus, Wei Shanhai was thoroughly disappointed in Wang Tsangyi. You must know, the treasures they obtained were quite extraordinary. With their power levels at the time, they couldn't distinguish which items were the best. Even if he were to choose first, he wouldn't have been able to pick all the most precious treasures. And yet, Wang Tsangyi wouldn't even concede that slight disadvantage. After completely seeing Wang Tsangyi's true nature, Wei Shanhai let go. He casually picked a few treasures, and once they exited the cave, he severed ties with Wang Tsangyi forever, each going their separate ways and ceasing all contact. Now that I think about it, if it weren't for my breakthrough in the innate realm during our travels back then, making our powers nearly equal, with neither of us sure of victory over the other, I'm afraid Wang Tsangyi might have already had murderous intent at that time. Wei Shanhai sighed. Ancestor, according to what you said, the treasures you ended up with? Wei Xinghe tentatively asked. Indeed, among the treasures I picked, one of them is the item hidden in the Wei family's secret vault. Wei Shanhai nodded. And it was the most precious item we found in that secret chamber. The most precious? Yes. I never expected that a casual choice back then would result in me taking away the most valuable item from the treasures. Wang Tsangyi would have never imagined that I'd be so lucky, choosing the most valuable treasure in one go. Perhaps this could be called destiny. I wonder if it made him exceedingly furious in the days that followed. A trace of an ironic smile appeared on Wei Shanhai's face. Imagining the scenario, Wei Xinghe and housekeeper Wei felt that given Wang Tsangyi's temper, he probably was indeed very agitated. So, Wang Tsangyi's visit to our Wei family this time is to obtain that treasure. But why then were you ambushed by him, ancestor? Inquired Wei Xinghe. That, I must say, is because I was too careless, Wei Shanhai sighed. After my fallout with Wang Tsangyi, I hadn't seen him again. Recently, he wrote to me, saying that as old friends who hadn't met for many years, he wished to meet up. I thought to myself that so many years have passed, and we were both so headstrong when we were young, which is why we argued so fiercely. Now, 100 years later, what is there that can't be let go? So I went to meet him. I didn't expect that once we met, Wang Tsangyi pretended to reminisce with me about our youthful travels and then launched a surprise attack while my guard was down. I was caught off guard and seriously injured, managing to escape only by finding an opening. "How are your injuries now, ancestor?" Wei Xinghe hurriedly asked. "My injuries have not yet healed, and I can only exert up to 30% of my full power." Wei Shanhai spoke nonchalantly. Hearing this, Wei Xinghe and housekeeper Wei were shocked. Just as they were about to ask further, Wei Shanhai asked, "By the way, I have been back for so long. Why haven't I seen Ning Yen and an heir? Where are they?" Innate realm practitioners have extraordinary senses, and Wei Shanhai realized that he could not detect the presence of Li Ningyan and Wei Ziyan in the residence. Chapter 178. Critically injured and hard to heal, the clever Xiao Tian. Does that mean Ning Yen and Ziyan, their lives are still hanging by a thread? Wei Shanhai spoke with a furrowed brow. Just now, Wei Xinghe had recounted all that had happened during this period. This included the attempt to secretly send his wife and children away, a plan that ended up being discovered. But the lady and the young master should be fine, otherwise our adversaries would have already used them to threaten us, housekeeper Wei analyzed. The problem is we have no idea where they are now, whether they've already reached the state mansion or are hiding somewhere. No matter what, we still need to confirm they are safe, Wei Shanhai said. Xiao Hai, arrange for someone to check the state mansion first, then send others to scout outside the city. Yes, Grand Ancestor. I will make the arrangements right away, housekeeper Wei responded. Actually, they had wanted to do this for a long time, but the presence of Tiansong's sex people had been looming over them like a specter, preventing them from daring to send out anyone carelessly. Now that the Grand Ancestor had returned, giving them a pillar of support, there were many tasks they felt reassured to undertake. After housekeeper Wei left to arrange for manpower, Wei Xinghe turned to the Grand Ancestor. Grand Ancestor, are your injuries not serious? Approximately when will you recover? My injuries, I'm afraid, are beyond healing. At this moment, a look of weariness suddenly appeared on Wei Shanhai's face, his energy rapidly waning, and he seemed to age considerably as he slumped into his chair. Grand Ancestor, Wei Xinghe shouted in alarm. Don't make a fuss, Wei Shanhai gestured with his hand and sighed. Wang Tsangyi's innate sword energy is indeed formidable. Having been struck by his sword, though I avoided the brunt of the damage, my heart meridians are still gravely wounded by his sword qi. With the Grand Ancestor's strength, is it really not possible to expel the sword qi? On my own, it's very difficult. Wei Shanhai shook his head. Wang Tsangyi's innate sword energy is extremely toxic, akin to bone-corroding poison, entangling around my heart meridians. Given that our cultivation levels are on par, I cannot guarantee the sword qi can be purged without further damage to my own heart meridians. I can only suppress it temporarily with my true qi, preventing it from erupting. Upon hearing this, Wei Xinghe grew anxious. Then is there truly no other way? Unless there's assistance from another innate realm expert, who can work both internally and externally with me, using gentle true qi to protect my heart meridians, allowing me to fully focus my cultivation to completely purge the sword qi. Upon hearing this, Wei Xinghe felt a sense of despair, not to mention innate realm experts, who are as elusive as dragons, rarely revealing themselves to the common folk. In their remote location, where could they find an innate realm expert on short notice? Moreover, even if by some stroke of luck such an innate realm expert appeared, the risk of allowing another's innate realm true qi into one's heart meridians was too great. Human nature is unpredictable. If the other party harbors evil intentions, in an instant, they could completely destroy the Grand Ancestor's heart meridians. Then, even a deity descending to earth could not reverse the damage. Wei Shanhai was also aware of the difficulty of this matter. Nevertheless, with a determined spirit, seeing Wei Xinghe's anxious expression, he comforted him instead. There's no need to be so dejected. The situation hasn't reached the final step. As long as I am alive, I can still protect our Wei family. Grand Ancestor, what are the consequences if the sword qi isn't purged? Wei Shanhai paused before speaking. Suppressing the sword qi puts a great strain on my heart meridians. Probably, after at most one more year, my heart meridians will not withstand it and will fail and die. Wei Xinghe fell silent. He had thought that, with the Grand Ancestor's return, everything would be safe. Unexpectedly, the Grand Ancestor's injuries still posed such a significant hidden danger. At that moment, his previous joy evaporated. After pondering for a while, Wei Xinghe still unwillingly said, "Grand Ancestor, is it possible to heal your injuries using that treasure?" "Unlikely." Wei Shanhai shook his head. "That treasure is exceedingly mysterious and far from ordinary. It was by chance that I learned the Silver Moon battle formation and the cultivation technique I now practice from it and advance to the innate realm. For decades, I have been unable to glean anything more from it. There's no need to waste those years of accumulated foundation. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been stuck at the peak of the initial innate realm for so many years. But it is still a method, isn't it?" Wei Xinghe quickly said, "What if, Grand Ancestor, you experience life and death this time and are able to comprehend a higher realm from it? You sigh very well. I will give it a try." Wei Shanhai, seeing his insistence, sighed and agreed. At a time when Wei family seemed to have temporarily resolved another life-and-death crisis with the return of Wei Shanhai, elsewhere in the county, discussions about the battle between Tiansong sect and Wei family were gradually surfacing. There was no help for it, though the battling factions far surpassed any other power within the county. Logically, other minor forces should have steered clear, not daring to even glance toward such a conflict. But there are always those in the world who do not fear death. Within these forces, there are always spies painstakingly cultivated in secret. Hence, some of the inside stories of this battle eventually leaked, especially the conversation between the cloth-clothed youth and the two innate realm experts, which was unabashedly loud enough to echo throughout the city. Thus, everyone learned that there existed such a taboo for the reclusive and mysterious innate realm authorities. They were not to casually harm those below innate. Chapter 179, Critical Injury Hard to Treat, The Astute Xiao Tian _2. I don't know what force Holy Mountain holds, to be able to restrict the immensely powerful innate realm. Thank goodness such a ban exists, otherwise we might all be dead by now. That momentum earlier was truly terrifying. Indeed, my heart was pounding so hard earlier. If those two had really started fighting, I fear half the county would have been destroyed, right? And what force does Tianji Building belong to? Due to the power of the Holy Mountain sect, they hadn't completely evacuated the county, so the residents dared not talk loudly about it. However, private discussions were inevitable. Thus, before long, discussions about the great battle had spread throughout the entire county. At the same time, everyone couldn't help but breathe a huge sigh of relief. There was no helping it. When the two great innate realm powers clashed earlier, the might was truly too fearsome. The entire city had been silent then, not daring to even breathe. No one wished for those two to truly start fighting because, after their battle, who knew if they would still be able to survive? Now that everyone knew fighting was not allowed casually in the city among the innate realm, everyone felt genuinely relieved. In these discussions, one person, as he listened, couldn't help but show a joyful expression on his face. But soon, he quickly concealed his joy and pretended as if nothing special had happened, joining the discussions with others. The next morning, after disguising himself a bit, he followed the crowd and quietly slipped out of the city. After leaving the city, he changed his route several times, even staying the night at his brother-in-law's house in the countryside, ensuring that no one was following him before he headed toward Jili Village. Upon arriving at Jili Village, he went straight to Lu Qing's house and saw Lu Qing practicing his punches in the courtyard. "Young Master Lu, Brother Tian?" Lu Qing looked up, a bit surprised. According to Ma Gu's instructions, shouldn't Tian and the others have dispersed and hidden after dealing with the corpses of the Black Wolf gang? Why would he appear here? "Brother Tian, why are you here?" Lu Qing felt a chill in his heart. Had something happened? "Young Master Lu, something big happened in the city these past 2 days. I specifically came to tell you," Tian said with some excitement. Indeed, Lu Qing's expression became serious. "Come in. Let's talk inside." Inside the house, little Yen hadn't woken up yet, and the table was set with freshly made breakfast. The steaming aroma made Tian involuntarily swallow. He had gotten up very early that morning and hadn't had the chance to eat at his brother-in-law's place before rushing here. "Brother Tian, did you have breakfast yet? Why not eat something here?" Lu Qing noticed his motion and asked. "No need. I have something important to tell you first." Tian shook his head, insisting, "All right, then go ahead." Lu Qing didn't press further, seeing how serious Tian was. Evidently, something important had happened in the city. Could it be that the Holy Mountain sect and the Wei family had finally started fighting? Just as this thought crossed Lu Qing's mind, he heard Tian start speaking. Just the day before yesterday, those foreign martial artists in the city officially declared war on the Wei family. They gathered many martial artists and launched a direct attack on Wei Mansion. Tian's first sentence already made Lu Qing's heart tremble. However, as Tian continued recounting, his expression gradually turned into astonishment. Just like that, the two great innate masters ended up not fighting after all, allowing us to escape a disaster. I took the opportunity to slip out of the city to tell you about it. After hearing Tian's account, Lu Qing fell into a long silence. There was no helping it. Tian's words contained too much information, and he needed to sort it out first. Seeing him in silence, Tian did not interrupt, quietly waiting. He knew young Master Lu was no ordinary person and understood far more than him. He didn't need to say much, he just needed to wait for his thoughts. However, during the wait, Xiao Tian, smelling the aroma of the food on the table, felt hungrier by the moment. Finally, his stomach uncontrollably growled. This sound also startled Lu Qing from his thoughts. He looked at the somewhat embarrassed Xiao Tian and smiled. "Brother Tian, don't be shy. Go ahead and eat something." "Yes, young master." This time, Xiao Tian did not hesitate and picked up a steamed bun to eat. After he finished 2 buns and drank a bowl of porridge, Lu Qing then asked, "Brother Tian, you mentioned that those in the innate realm are not to freely attack those below innate, nor battle within the city. Is that certain?" "Certain." Xiao Tian nodded seriously. This was personally stated by that official from the Tianji building when those 2 innate realm experts were about to fight. He rushed into the Wei Mansion and proclaimed it to be a decree from the Holy Mountain, heard by the entire city. And in the end, those 2 innate realm experts really didn't fight, and the foreign one left angrily. Lu Qing's fingers gently tapped on the tabletop. He hadn't expected that there were such decrees for the innate realm. What place was this holy mountain? It could restrain the innate realm powers of the world, and it seemed those innate realm individuals also did not dare to publicly defy it. What level of terrifying force must it be to have such a deterrent power? It appeared that this world indeed held many secrets, harboring numerous formidable forces unknown to the people. Even becoming an innate realm expert did not guarantee one could act as they pleased. However, this decree was beneficial for the present Lu Qing. It at least gave him more confidence in dealing with Wang Tsongyi. Of course, this did not mean Lu Qing was not wary of Wang Tsongyi anymore. A corner dog will leap over a wall, and those in the innate realm were not made of clay. Anyone who could cultivate to such a realm was proud and independent. If he truly angered the other and invoked a murderous intent, any decree would be meaningless. If someone really wanted to kill, it was just a matter of intention. Could that so-called holy mountain revive a dead person at that point? Therefore, a proper reverence for the innate realm was still necessary. Young Master Lu, now that the Wei family elder has returned and resolved their crisis, when can Master Ma come back? Asked Xiao Tian, a perceptive man. Although he hadn't seen Mrs. Wei and her son with his own eyes when he was in that large estate at the fair, from various clues and the events that followed, he had guessed some connections. He knew that his master's disappearance was likely related to the Wei family's matriarch and young son. This matter is not urgent. You also said that the mysterious innate realm individual before leaving stated he would not rest easily. Clearly, the situation in the county is still tense. Under these circumstances, it is not suitable for Master Ma to appear, especially since where he is now is very safe, Lu Qing said. Xiao Tian thought so too and did not inquire further. As long as he knew Master Ma was fine, that was enough. After eating, Xiao Tian took his leave. He wanted to return to the county to continue gathering information. To this, Lu Qing could only advise him to be careful. After Xiao Tian left, Lu Qing went to wake little Yen from her bed, helped her wash up, have breakfast, and then took her and little Li to the half-mountain's small courtyard. The news brought by Xiao Tian was very important, especially the information regarding the decree for the innate realm. He had to inform his master. Upon reaching half-mountain's small courtyard, his master was just drying herbs. After Lu Qing relayed the news brought by Xiao Tian to his master, he then asked, "Master, having traveled for many years, have you ever heard of this decree, or the forces of the Holy Mountain and Tianji building?" The elder doctor, after listening to Lu Qing's words, was quite surprised. Upon hearing his question, he seemed a bit lost. He shook his head and said, "I have never heard of these two names, nor have I heard of such a decree." Chapter 180. Strange Guest Arrives, Exotic Treasure. Lu Qing wasn't surprised to hear that his master had never heard of those two mysterious forces. Although his master had once achieved great success in the internal organ realm in martial arts cultivation, he had always considered himself a doctor, never regarding himself as a martial artist. He spent the first half of his life wandering the countryside, treating the sick and saving lives, uninterested in the disputes among martial artists. So it wasn't surprising that he didn't know about these top forces. However, now that there was such a prohibition regarding the innate realm in the outside world, now that his master had become an innate realm martial artist, this was something that needed attention. Lu Qing shared his thoughts with his master, but the elder doctor didn't care. The old man here doesn't like to fight with others. Let the prohibition be a prohibition. It's rather peaceful that way. Lu Qing thought so too. His master always had the heart of medical benevolence, amiable with everyone. Sometimes, when patients were in a bad mood and lashed out, he would still comfort them with gentle words and rarely got angry. Getting him to fight others was as difficult as getting him to abandon a patient to death. For other innate realm individuals, the prohibition might be a restraint, but for his master, it really didn't seem to make any difference whether it existed or not. With that in mind, Lu Qing wasn't worried anymore. "By the way, master, there is something else your disciple wants to consult you about. Now that the Wei family's innate realm ancestor has returned, should your disciple escort Mrs. Wei and her son back to the county? As for the fact that Mrs. Wei and her son had been moved to the deep mountains, Lu Qing did not hide this from his master. The elder doctor thought for a moment and said, "Wait a few more days. The situation in the county is still unclear. It's better for us, master and disciple, not to get involved." I was thinking the same thing. After all, Mrs. Wei and her family are currently in a relatively safe situation. There is no need to rush back. According to what Xiao Tian had said, Wang Tsangyi clearly hadn't given up on the Wei family's treasure and was still eagerly watching in the county. If Mrs. Wei and her family returned now, they would fall straight into Wang Tsangyi's hands. Wouldn't that make them inadvertent saboteurs, hindering the Wei family? However, even though Mrs. Wei and her family couldn't return yet, they should still be informed about it. After spending half the morning with his master and finishing his studies for the day, Lu Qing then took little Li and headed into the mountains. As for little Yen, she had been recognizing more and more characters lately and could start reading some simple sentences with an effort. When the master learned of this, he was very pleased, knowing that Lu Qing often had to go into the mountains for cultivation, so he took the initiative to propose teaching little Yen himself. Therefore, the little fellow's recent study tasks were not easy, with much to learn. Accompanied by little Li, he arrived at the cave where Ma Gu and his group were hiding, and Lu Qing happened to see Wei Ziyan practicing stick technique. Lu Qing watched for a bit, noticing that his stick technique had become quite proficient, and he nodded in some satisfaction. Just as Ma Gu had said, Wei Ziyan indeed had a bit of talent for the path of martial arts. During this period, Lu Qing had taught him the simplified one-breath stick technique in its entirety. Now, it seemed that Wei Ziyan had been diligently practicing in private, without slacking off. Good, not bad. When Wei Ziyan had finished performing a set of stick techniques, Lu Qing then spoke out in praise. Young Master Lu, you're here. Wei Zian turned his head and was immediately glad to see him. Mrs. Wei, who was resting in another cave room, came out upon hearing the voice. She was surprised. Young Master Lu, why have you come so quickly this time? According to past habits, Lu Qing usually visited only once every 3 or 4 days. But now it had been only 1 day since his last visit. There is something minor. Where is Elder Ma? Lu Qing asked casually. Master went out to see if he could find some small game to improve our meals. Lu Qing nodded without further comment. As time slowly passed, everyone realized that the likelihood of that mysterious force coming back to search the mountains for them had become very small. So Ma Gu and the others had not been as tense as they were in the beginning. Their range of activities gradually ceased to be confined to the cave. Before long, Ma Gu came in holding 2 wild rabbits, both happy and surprised to see Lu Qing. Happy that Lu Qing had come, and surprised for fear something bad had happened outside. All right, now that everyone's here, I do have some news to tell you. Hearing Lu Qing's words, both Ma Gu and Mrs. Wei tensed up. Indeed, there was a reason for Lu Qing's sudden visit. Mrs. Wei, there's no need to be nervous. This is actually good news for you, Lu Qing said with a smile upon seeing Mrs. Wei's expression. Young Master Lu, what exactly is it? Mrs. Wei's expression eased when she heard it was good news, and she asked. This morning, Brother Tian, Elder Ma's trusted man, came to look for me and informed me of a significant event that occurred in the county a couple of days ago. The Wei family's ancestor has safely returned. Lu Qing slowly retold what Xiao Tian had told him. Mrs. Wei and Xian's eyes widened more and more as they listened, and by the end, they were overjoyed. So, the Wei family's crisis is now essentially over. Madam and the young master can rest easy. Mom, our ancestor has come back. Does that mean we can go home? Xian asked excitedly. No, not yet. Although Mrs. Wei was also excited, she quickly calmed down. According to young Master Lu, those villains haven't given up on plotting for our family's treasure. It's still too risky for us to return now.